Spoilers.
Yes. I think it should be mentioned in case you're listening or watching. I mean, you're watching like two picture icons, so I guess listen.
Yeah, if you're listening or watching or lotchening or whistening or whichever variation of listening and or watching you may be doing.
Yeah, whistling is Major Swastika's way of listening because he has that real.
Yes, and also you could just be watching with the sound muted.
Yeah.
So you're just seeing two faces with the little waveforms. I couldn't find my picture to use for the file this time around, to use as my little avatar. So if everyone is seeing a very particular face right now, then congratulations, you got rickrolled.
Yeah, we actually got Rick Astley on the show. Teo couldn't be here today, but Rick was very excited to talk about Doctor Strange.
You know the rules, and so do I. I really like the movie. Want to go see it again. Anyway, no.
He sang that whole song to Rachel McAdams' character. Okay. I don't remember her name.
But yeah, so spoilers for Moon Knight, spoilers for Doctor Strange's mom. That's what Multiverse of Madness spells out if you turn it into an acronym. Doctor Strange the mom.
Dang. Had I known that, I would have made that the title.
Yeah. Doctor Strange in the mom. Lucky man.
In the mom.
Yeah.
That's great.
Lucky man, especially if the mom in question's the Scarlet Witch. Anyway, that's right. I'm getting all the dirty stuff out of the way right up top.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is the Store Brand Comics live stream.
Yes,
I'm
we
Teo.
and I'm Brandon. We usually have we have another, the main podcast over on Spotify, Anchor, nearly any podcast listening app, and there's over 100 episodes of that by now. But this is live stream stuff whenever we want to talk about stuff that came out recently or whatever, that if we release the episode a month from now, it's who cares?
Yeah, because our recordings are so backlogged that it's we've got a full month delay between recording an episode and releasing an episode. At this point, it used to be I would struggle to have an episode edited by the end of a week, but now it's I'm spoiled for choice. I don't even have to release them in order if I don't want to.
Ooh.
Yeah. A little preview for a certain set of episodes coming up there.
Yeah.
I'm planning on having a 3-day event for all of our loyal listeners.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just we've got a 3-part episode that I'm just putting out over a weekend at some point. That's all it is. So anyway, today we're talking about Doctor Strange. We're probably going to talk about Moon Knight. I also wanted to generally talk about the Gallows Man #2 just a little bit. Give Brandon an opportunity to talk about it some more. Honestly, he probably has a much further reach with all the other reviews and interviews and stuff that he's done for it. But whatever, I want to do some here too.
Yeah, that's no problem.
But anyway, so Brandon,
yes.
My first question for you is: we're going to start with Moon Knight. We're starting with, I think, the sort of less exciting one.
Yeah, yeah.
Was it the best TV show in the universe or the worst TV show in the universe? Like,
It was neither, but I'll say of the 6 Marvel shows we've gotten so far, it's the one at the very bottom.
you're not allowed to have a neutral opinion. This is YouTube.
If I have
You're
to pick,
supposed
then
to you're supposed to either have your mind completely blown to such an extent that all other shows will taste like ash in your mouth, or it is supposed to be so horrifically disappointing, which is often the more popular choice,
yeah.
that you will never be able to enjoy entertainment or even really your own life again.
If I have to pick, then worst show
I
ever.
see. I liked it.
I thought it was like good. I mean, like for a TV show, it's not bad. It's definitely better than anything that's on cable. But
Yeah.
like for the Disney Plus Marvel shows, it's like the weakest of them for me, at least.
Hmm.
Like I really liked episode 1. Like me and you, we've talked about this before when we were talking about like the first 3 episodes. I
Yeah.
really liked episode 1. Episode 2, it was okay. There was a couple parts I liked. Episode 3, about the same. And then from there, it was just like, like I don't know. Like
Oh wow! It
by
actually
the
turned downwards for you after episode 3.
well, I mean, like episode 2 and 3, I was like, or episode 3 is when I started to like not saying not care, but like it started going downhill from there, kind of. I mean, there were like
Okay.
spikes here and there after episode 3, but like, yeah, like if you're talking about like the very last episode, the one thing I liked from that was, and I'm not, hear me out, people. If you've never heard me talk about movies before or TV shows, I'm not the guy that's like, yeah, gotta have dumb action and stuff. Duh. Like I'm mostly drama. I like A24 crap where it's slow, lingering, all that stuff. Um, but like the only thing I truly really enjoyed with that last episode was the Mr. Knight slash Moon Knight switching of the fights, especially
Mm.
whenever it was Mr. Knight and you actually saw him truly fight. And I was like, I really like that fighting style. And whoever does the choreography for this show was awesome with it because it feels very much like Stephen Grant's physicality, like the
Mm.
motions he does. Like he's a little bit
Yeah,
like not
his more
goofy or anything.
exaggerated. Yeah, his more exaggerated
Yeah,
like goofy
yeah,
mannerisms.
yeah. And I felt like they really captured that with his fight style. And you can see a very different fight style with the two of them. Not just like the weapons they use, but just the way they punch, the way they kick. I was like, they did a really good job of differentiating that.
Yeah, I noticed that Mark, who wears the Moon Knight outfit, has a more fluid, almost Batman-like fighting style,
Yeah.
whereas you could compare Mr. Knight a little more, I think, to a Daredevil in terms of like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
way he looks when he fights.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, but like looking at it as a whole, like the whole, again, we're talking spoilers, everyone, in case you didn't
Yeah,
realize, the whole
yeah.
like
Spoilers.
the whole DID thing that was kind of like hinted at in like episode 4 and 5 and 6 and stuff like that. Like what I mean is like the hospital stuff, like, oh, is he like,
Yeah.
is this real or not? Like it was all right, but I don't know. It's
Okay,
they
I have a
have
question.
that. Yeah.
Do you, have you read any? Have you read any Moon Knight comics? Like, how familiar are you with comic book Moon
I've
Knight?
read volume 1 of Jeff Lemire's run.
Okay, all right.
Like
I'm just
I
curious because, like, to me, it's like that part is what caused the upturn in quality.
no, that's the thing, is like it definitely was like a welcome thing, because it was just like a meh Indiana Jones up to that point.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. My problem with that though is like, by the end of it, it's still pretty clear that like, yeah, some of the stuff is in his head, but most of this is real. Whereas like the
Okay.
Jeff Lemire run, or at least that first volume I read, is like, you don't know what is real and what isn't.
Yeah. But to me, um, I feel like that does like the whole. So I remember telling you and I had a conversation about this on the podcast. I remember mentioning that I never wanted to be totally certain what was actually happening
Yeah.
when I watched the show. And towards the end there, it was kind of hard to, actually keep a grasp on what was real and what wasn't. But to me, I think also if they do have like future plans for this character in the MCU, I think it helps to make sure that like by the end of at least season 1 there is a pretty clear line about what's real and what isn't.
Yeah, but like when you do the whole what's real, what isn't, like, and it's not even from the beginning they did the what's real, what isn't. They started that at like the end of episode 4 or something like that.
Yeah.
So you only get like 2 or 1.5 episodes of that. So it's not like the whole series. If the whole series, not saying it should have been this way, but the whole series was that, like, what is real, what isn't. And then at the end, you truly can get a decent grasp of what is real and what isn't. I'm cool with that. But with this, it's like we only got like an episode and a half, no more than 2 episodes of that. And then you say, this is what's real, this is what isn't. It's like, oh, well, like, there wasn't really much build up with that because I saw all this other stuff happen previously. And like, I don't know, I even with throwing in that little, oh, but was all that stuff real? Like, I still kind of knew, like, yeah, all that stuff we saw, the whole Indiana Jones trip and all that, yeah, that was real. This is just something else going on right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. For me personally, I don't have like an issue with how it was structured. I like that they kind of backloaded the weird, trippy psychological stuff like towards the end of the season because I don't know. I feel like it was, in my opinion, done well in terms of all of that. I do think
Yeah.
that the final episode could have been a bit longer.
Yeah, it was
It
really
felt
short for a finale.
yeah, and like for like 44 minutes, it felt a little rushed.
Yeah, I can
It's
definitely see
like
that.
you hear about some of the content that was deleted from the final episode, and you're like, well, dang, you had time. Why didn't you put that in?
As well as we've been building up the entire season to this big moment, the whole
Yeah,
Ahmed and all this stuff, and that gets taken care of in like 20 minutes.
yeah, yeah, and I don't mind that it was dealt with in like a big kaiju fight, kind of as well. But like also at the same
No,
time,
I
it's
have no
like
problem with that.
if you're gonna have a big kaiju fight in your thing, all like I feel like because there was a I don't know the details of it because I haven't like watched the scene, but apparently there
Yeah.
was a deleted scene released where it's like Mark and Steven have like I guess a conversation with their mummer with the mummy. No, they have a conversation like with their mother and like get some sort of resolution there. Obviously, it's like a
Okay.
spiritual or mental thing, but
Yeah.
because she's dead. But yeah, like apparently there was a deleted scene where like the two of them got the chance to talk to their mother one last time and get some like resolution there.
If it was able to fit in, I probably would have liked that a good bit.
And with how short that last episode was, it could have. This is a streaming
Yeah.
service. Like they don't have time restrictions.
Yeah. You can literally.
That
I
could have
mean,
been a movie length finale and it would still fit because
that's
there's no
literally.
restriction.
Yeah, that's literally every Disney Plus show is like. There's no restriction to where like your episode can be like 28 minutes or it can be like an hour. It can be anywhere in between. And if it's a finale, there's no problem with going over an hour. So yeah.
Yeah, and I understand maintaining specific lengths for different types of shows. Like, for example, a sitcom, keep that at about 20 minutes because I think that's as long as
Right,
most
right.
people can bear it. Like that
Yeah.
sort of thing. And like, hour-long dramas, that sort of stuff. Like all those old standards that were established by old like cable and network television.
Yeah.
Maintain some of that just for the sake of people's attention spans and things like that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like every episode needs to be a different length or longer than it was, but what I'm saying is when you have a show like Moon Knight where it could do with a little more room to breathe in its final episode, you should let it have that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd agree. My one thing, and ultimately it would come down to rewriting, possibly cutting some stuff and all that. My thing I got out of this by the end is I think this would have been better as like a 2.5 hour movie or something.
Hmm.
At least in my opinion, because there was parts where it's like, not saying it's dragging, but I'm just saying I would be a lot more engaged if I'm not trying to say condense it, because there's some stuff, especially towards the end, where it's like you can't make that like 15 minutes of the movie. But there's some stuff that can be shorter that
Yeah.
we can kind of not focus on as much as we did.
Yeah. I almost feel like the reason they made it a show, like there are probably a few reasons behind it, but I think they needed, like, they probably had a spot they needed filled out, and
Oh
Moon
yeah,
Knight
yeah.
was the character with the most demand.
No, that's the thing is
Yeah,
I understand why they made it a show, because it's the perfect thing for Moon Knight. I'm saying
yeah,
as a story stance or a writing stance, I feel like it would have been better as a movie.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I also think they probably I don't know whether or not they had faith in Moon Knight as a character. I honestly feel almost like this show is just kind of like a trial run for him. I do like that they had as few references to the larger MCU as they could possibly get away with. I only
Yeah, yeah,
recognized like one reference in the whole thing, and it's like very obscure, even in terms of like the MCU.
yeah,
But yeah, so I like that. It definitely, and because this is the first uh MCU show on Disney Plus to introduce a fully new main character, someone who hasn't been established in a movie yet. I do like that they just gave him his own 6 episodes to establish himself.
yeah, yeah. And I think part of why I wasn't like as, because I saw everywhere at the end of episode 4, whatever, whenever he's in the hospital, the psych ward type thing, like everyone's like losing their minds online, like whoa, like it finally turned, like I'm finally interested or what, like that was like comments I would hear and stuff.
Yeah,
Um, I guess the reason I wasn't as like whoa with that is like because I saw all of this done, the DID thing, the psych ward thing. I saw all this done better with a show a few years ago called Mr. Robot. So I
mm-hmm.
don't know.
Yeah, huh?
Like whenever it was touching on stuff like that and doing stuff like that, I was like, ultimately, this is good. It's a little bit of awareness with this, but also like a lot of people haven't really seen this type of story structure and stuff. So mainstream audience is going to be like, whoa, this is really good. But like having seen Mr. Robot, I was like, kind of the stuff they're doing here is just a lesser of Mr. Robot.
I was into DID before it was cool. Yeah, I definitely get what you're saying. But yeah, I think Moon Knight did it pretty well. I haven't seen Mr. Robot. So speaking as someone who is kind of a part of the mainstream audience for this one, um, I would say I think it did it pretty well.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I do like that Mark and Steven found some equilibrium by the end, and if it gets a season 2, which I'm really hoping it does, I want to see a second season of Moon Knight before I see him guest star in any movies. Firstly,
I'd
and
agree. Yeah, yeah.
and secondly, I'm interested to see how the two of them uh, feel about and deal with Jake.
Yeah, yeah. There's something else around. Oh, okay. There was one thing, and this was like tiny nitpick, but maybe you have an answer to it. That post credit scene. Um, why or how can Ethan Hawke see Khonshu?
Probably because Conchu wanted him to.
But Khonshu has never been able to do that. Like the whole
Well, hang on.
earlier in the show. Hold on, earlier in the show, Khonshu, whenever uh not Mark Spector, Steven, whenever he's going to Ethan Hawke's like compound and all that stuff in that little like village looking area, and like Ethan Hawke can't hear Khonshu or anything like that, but Khonshu's like talking to Stephen Grant, and like you see him throwing stuff. So obviously he's like kind of invisible, but he can interact with stuff. So I understand that. And so Ethan Hawke's character is like, oh, let me guess, he's saying this. Like he's because he was the Avatar, he understands how Khonshu is, and so he's like, I'm guessing
Okay,
he's saying this and throwing a big tantrum or whatever.
but I have to ask you, where in the text of the show does it say Khonshu was unable to show himself to Ethan Hawke's character there rather than unwilling?
I guess, but that's like
Think about
so.
Layla. Layla was offered a position as his avatar and refused it, and she was still able to see him when he made the offer.
Yeah, yeah, I suppose.
There we go.
Maybe it's some like bullcrap thing of like, oh, she broke it, so she
No,
whatever.
I really think the explanation is as simple as it's about who he wants to see him. It's not about ability, it's about desire.
I guess. I feel like he would be so much more effective. He doesn't have to do it all the time because ultimately, if he does it all the time, it's going to downplay it. But he would be so much effective of showing himself to people here and there. Like
Yeah.
he's a scary looking dude. Like I don't know. That was my one tiny gripe with that was like, huh. But I guess that makes sense. It makes sense. I don't like it though.
You want to know what my one little nitpick of that post-credit scene is?
How the pistol has no recoil, no muzzle flash.
Well, it has
His
muzzle flash, but
arm
there's no
doesn't move.
recoil. Yeah.
Well, his arm does not move at all. It stays in
Yeah,
one.
yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Even if it was a 22, which is like one of the most common small caliber pistols, there's going to be the teeniest bit of recoil. You'll see the hand move just ever so slightly, even if it is a
Yeah.
22.
Yeah, that's my nitpick. The gun, no recoil on the gun.
Yeah, yeah. I
What's up
saw
with
that,
that? He's
but
not that strong.
that's the thing is I saw that and I was like, there's a bunch of movies. And I ultimately it needs to be corrected. I don't think it should be a thing in movies or shows anymore. But I've seen it in so many movies and shows of like people not knowing how guns actually work. And it's like, it's just a Hollywood thing. Like,
Yeah. All right. Excuse me. I did not mean to do that. I moved the mic away from my mouth. When I
I
realized it
do
was
want
coming.
to ask. I do want to ask because I said it's my least favorite of all the Disney Plus shows. Not saying it's
All the
bad.
DC Plus shows.
I do think it's entertaining, but I do think it's on the bottom of my list. Where would this be for you when it comes to those Disney Plus Marvel shows?
All right. So we place. Okay, are we including What If? Is my first
Yeah,
question.
yeah, yeah. What if? Yeah,
Okay,
I'm including that.
placing Loki at the top. What If at the bottom. Hmm. I think, and that's not to say I disliked What If. It's just my bottom, and Loki is my top. Uh,
Oh, Loki's the top.
all right, so I guess in order, let me think. Let me think real hard. It would be Loki, WandaVision, Hawkeye, Falcon and Winter Soldier, and then Moon Knight, and then What If.
Okay, yeah, my list is pretty much the same. Yeah, aside from the like, my only difference is really like what if
Wait. No,
for me.
hang on, let me change it. Moon Knight
Okay.
above Hawkeye. Just switch those two around.
Okay.
I really liked Hawkeye, but I also really like Moon Knight. Make them equal. Set them on the same rung.
Yeah, Hawkeye. I do ultimately think WandaVision might be above Hawkeye for me. Thinking about it now, I loved Hawkeye, but like that last episode was good, but I don't know. Like the rest of the show
The
felt so much
last
better to me.
the last episode of Hawkeye was another example of like a really rushed finale, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd
Like
agree.
the I would say the number one issue with Disney Plus's shows is the fact that the finales don't have room to breathe. The only two finales that felt like they got the time they needed were WandaVision, because it was literally a longer episode than the rest of the show had, and Loki, because it's just, I think, the best written of the group.
Yeah, I'd agree. Oh, I do want to say, what up, George? I saw you in the chat. I'm not ignoring you. I just didn't want to interrupt.
Yeah, I can't see the chat, so if I don't call anybody out, it's because you are invisible to me, as Khonshu is to everyone except people who he wills to see him.
No, I just wanted to mention George. He's a great guy. He's given me a bunch of tips with Kickstarter, as well as like seeing him run his Kickstarters
Hmm.
has like given me a bunch of influence and tips on running my Kickstarters. And I'll be on his show, trying to make sure catch the craze tonight. So yeah, thank you, George.
Tonight. Did you say catch the craze? Is that
Catch the craze, not the.
catch?
You
Not
better
the.
not say the or the. It's duh.
Oh God. So wait, if so, even if I said it as an example, like if I say catch the craze right now, just as an example of what not to say, does that mean there are like assassins after me now?
Yes.
Oh, I shouldn't have even tested it.
George has sent assassins after you. George has ties with the League of Assassins, and they're coming for you now.
You know what? Poked the bear, did it to myself. Shouldn't have tested it. Got no one else to blame.
Yeah.
So
But yeah,
catch the craze tonight. That's what people are looking for. Alrighty, cool beans. I don't know that I'll be able to catch it myself. Actually, I have a day/night job. So
yeah, I got you. Yeah, there's always the rewind for people listening. And George, he said, "You're done, Teo. It's over. LOL."
You know, can't even argue. Won't even bother defending myself. I'll accept it.
Yeah, but okay, so with talking about Marvel stuff, do you want to switch into some strange conversation?
Yes, a very strange conversation. Ooh.
We're talking about
Talking
Doctor
about
Strange, not
Doctor Strange and the Mom.
not the other, not the weird word for female genitalia, because
Is that how is
strange?
that?
Yeah,
Okay.
strange. Yeah, I don't know. It's a thing that came up. I don't know when it came about, but yeah. Doctor Strange. That's who we're talking about.
Doctor Strange.
And he's not a doctor of that. He's a surgeon.
He's a surgeon. He's not a gynecologist.
Yeah. All right. So my initial thought with Doctor Strange, and I know I am from what I've heard, at least in the community. Now I haven't looked up like reviews and stuff. I think I'm a little in the minority. I thought it was good. I'd probably, if I had to do like a out of 10 scale, I might give it like 7 out of 10.
Hmm.
But I'm not as in love with it as most of the community is, and I do understand why they're in love with it. It's just, I don't know. There's bits and pieces for me.
You see, here's the weird thing. I'm actually seeing. I don't know why this is. I'm seeing a lot of like more negative opinions about it. I personally really enjoyed it. Now, I already really like Doctor Strange. He's one of my like favorite like non-core Avengers, because I wouldn't exactly call Doctor Strange a core Avenger. He helps out a lot, but he's not
Yeah, yeah,
like a part of like the main group, right? So I would
yeah,
I would say Doctor Strange is one of my favorite like peripheral Avengers. So I was already kind of geared towards enjoying this movie as it is. Plus, I'm a big fantasy nerd. I like seeing crazy magic action, and I like seeing weird visuals that I haven't seen before. So
yeah.
for me, that's like a huge part of what made this movie work. One weird complaint. So like I'm hearing complaints both from within and without the like Marvel fan community. The complaints from without tend to be that this movie is so impenetrably dense lore wise that it's inaccessible to new viewers, which is something that I personally don't actually think is the case. It's because it's like a comic book, you know what I mean? It's like when you're a kid getting into comic books for the first time, you go, you get a comic book, you read it, you figure it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like with this one, plus, like, why are you going to a sequel looking for it to be your jumping on point?
Yeah, yeah, because that's the thing is like there's other stuff that has come out recently that it's like, oh my gosh, it's a part of the MCU. It's so big, I can't catch up. Where like you can just jump in stuff like
Yeah,
Shang-Chi, like it where it's a first movie, like you're saying, like you don't jump into a sequel of a movie.
yeah, yeah. Jump on, like, I would say the best jumping on point in Phase 4 so far would be Shang-Chi. I would not say that of the Eternals, not because it ties itself in so heavily to the MCU, just because it's boring.
I think it would turn people off if that was their first MCU movie.
Yeah, they'd be like, are all of them this boring? If they're all this
Yeah,
boring, I don't want to watch anymore.
yeah, yeah. Something I thought about after watching this Doctor Strange, which again puts me in the minority of people's thoughts on this movie. Whenever the first Doctor Strange came out, I actually like really liked it. And then like the
Hmm.
community was like, or they were like, I think it's kind of bad. I really liked it. And like I there's probably very few that are thinking the same way. I kind of like the first Doctor Strange more than this one. That's just my opinion.
Okay, yeah. You see, I think you and I are once again of weirdly opposing opinions this episode, because when I went to see the first Doctor Strange, I did really like it, but I also thought to myself, they could have been weirder. And
Yeah,
so,
yeah, for sure.
like, this one, Multiverse of Madness, is kind of what I wanted the first Doctor Strange to be, kind of.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and so like this movie, and see, maybe it's because I'm just like overall resistant to the hype cycle. Like if I'm gonna like something, I'm gonna like it. If I'm gonna dislike it, I'm gonna dislike it, and I know what I like and don't like. So like for me, I didn't overhype this movie. I didn't build up any unreasonable expectations. It just about met my expectations, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I didn't have that much hype going into this. That doesn't mean there wasn't any hype there, because like
Yeah, there's always a
if
little hype.
even yeah, yeah, even if you like try to stay away from like social media and all that stuff, you're just going to see it everywhere because it's a Marvel
Yeah,
movie. Like
yeah,
everyone's talking about it before it comes out and stuff. So yeah, there's a little hype. Um, Not saying I was like expecting it to like surpass my expectations or anything. I did think
yeah.
it was good. Um, there was just like, I don't know. Ultimately, it's like I liked. the style, the way it was going with Sam Raimi and stuff, but there's only like minor nitpicks that I can really give it, in terms of like stuff I can critique. But when it comes to like me just thinking it's good, it's just an experience thing for me.
Yeah, yeah. For me, the only thing I noticed that was kind of weird in the movie is, as far as like nitpicks you can make, is at the beginning of that Garganto fight, there are four specific cuts where you just see the same guy running away from him past Doctor Strange, like four times in a
I
row.
didn't even notice that.
Yeah,
I
they're like when
something
when Doctor Strange is preparing like his first spell against Garganto, there's this one extra who they just at the beginning of every take just kept setting him up in the same spot, and he just kept running past Doctor Strange with every cut. So four times in a row, the same guy runs back like past him in exactly the same way.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's some sort of like time loop thing that guy's stuck in.
Yeah, that's oh my gosh, that dude ate the time stone. He ate the time stone, and now he's stuck in a time loop. Every time he farts, he goes back 10 seconds, and he gets real bad indigestion when he's scared.
Like one of the best things with this movie is the visuals, but I do want to, at least from what I saw, I
Hmm.
do want to mention like in the beginning, not the very very beginning where it's like other Doctor Strange and America Chavez, but the that Giganto fight
Hmm.
where it's Wong, America Chavez, and Doctor Strange. Maybe it was me, the the CGI, or maybe it's not even the CGI. It just looked so much green screen. Like I don't know if it was like the whenever they were cutting around the people to then put like cutting around America Chavez or cutting around Doctor Strange, and like because the rest is like green screen behind them basically.
Yeah.
Like it I noticed that a little too much with that scene to where I was like,
Hmm.
oh no, is this how like the rest of the movie is going to be? Ultimately, the rest of the movie has amazing visuals and it doesn't do that, but it just made me think like, was this one of the last digital edited scenes they had where they had to kind of rush it? That's just how it was for me with that little scene.
You see, for me, my only moment of noticeable green screen was the conversation Strange had with Wanda floating over Kamartaj.
Yeah, yeah,
That's the
yeah.
only moment that I really like noticed green screen. But that one's going to be a bit more obvious because they're just floating there with mountains in the background.
Right, yeah,
Like
yeah.
they're clearly like for the wide shots like on wires
Yeah, I
to give
don't
them
know
that floaty looking
exactly.
feel. So
I'm not like corridor digital or anything. Like I'm not a VFX master or know all this stuff. But like I don't know if it was like the lighting was off on certain characters like America Chavez or whoever in that scene to where like it didn't match the surrounding environment's lighting. I don't know what it was, but it
yeah.
felt very green screen to me, that little scene in the beginning.
Yeah, and I don't know who they got to play Garganto in that scene, but it didn't even look like he was on set that day. I feel like they just had to green screen him in.
No, that's the thing is like whenever you bring up VFX or anything, like people are like, oh, obviously, like it's fake, like
Yeah.
it's this big monster, it's not a real thing. I get that. No, the is it Giganto? How do you say it?
Garganto, I believe.
Giganto. Okay, he.
Giganto is the mole man's friend.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's some other character. Yeah,
That's what Marvel gets for having
he
so many freaking kaijus.
he looks good. He looks believable. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, whenever we have our real human characters, whenever we see them in the background or we see them get picked up by him or whatever, the tracking is off around them. Like it just
Yeah.
feels off to me.
Yeah. Honestly, I have plans to go see this movie a second time, like this weekend. Like I really want to. Like this is the first Marvel movie I have a compulsion to see more than once in the theater.
Yeah,
Personally,
yeah.
I don't. Again, like I'm already biased in Doctor Strange's favor, but but yeah, I'll go in with a lot more of these like visual criticisms in mind because one visual criticism I hear from a lot of people is the fact that like Sam Raimi's directing this movie, and they say it doesn't look or feel like a Sam Raimi movie. And you know what? I have to disagree with that, especially towards the
It
end.
feels very much like a Sam Raimi movie.
Oh, it feels just like a Sam Raimi movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the way the camera moves, that the whole like zombie strange resurrection scene, like that was the weird little spirits that he stitched together to make a cape. That's all.
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
feels very Raimi.
Oh, I do want to mention one thing because I forgot about it, but I remember thinking this in the movie theater. Okay, so maybe that beginning scene where it's other Doctor Strange and America Chavez, I think parts of that also green screen feels a little bit off, like for those characters. Like the tracking's not the best on this. The reason I say that is because something came in my mind as I was watching that, and there's one or two little like few second scenes where I'm like, this is like Shark Boy and Lava Girl level of like green screen. Like that's literally my thought that happened in there. I was like, oh no. Like this is like an over $200 million movie. What is this?
I cannot disagree with that because that opening dream bit was weird for me as well while I was watching it. Like and like I am starting to become slightly more critical of like those little moments where it's like they're landing from a high place and it's very clearly they just got pushed off a ledge. They just filmed them falling off like a 2-foot ledge for that.
Well, my criticism with that is like if this was like any other studio, and what I mean by any other studio that can't make a over $50 million movie,
and
which
any
is a lot
studio
of
that doesn't have Papa Disney's money to draw from.
Exactly. So if it was any other studio and it looked like that, I wouldn't really have a problem with it because I would understand that like budget is limited and stuff. But this is Marvel. This is a Disney movie. Like I look at how much money they have, and I'm not like consciously doing this as I'm watching the movie, but I do notice things here and there like that, and I'm like, where did the money go? Like, why? How's the scene not better? Like, is someone embezzling some of this money? Like, what is going on?
No, that only happens if they get Uwe Boll to direct one of the.
But it was really only the
pretty
beginning.
Sure
it was
embezzling
that
somewhere
scene.
in these movies. There has to be.
Sure.
There has to be.
There has to be at least one of the MCU movies where some embezzlement's going on. But it was just that scene and then the street fight scene with Big Monster at the beginning. Those were the only two scenes where I was like, ooh, like the green screen feels kind of cheap. Other than that, after that, visuals are pretty good. Aside from like the sky thing, but I didn't pay attention or care as much as I did with those beginning scenes.
Right.
Wanda.
Floating over Camartage and all
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, I forgot that was the thing I mentioned.
No, you didn't.
Like for me, you see, I don't know if there's something up with my eyes. If there's a lot going on visually on screen, like there was with the Garganto fight, it can be hard for me to pick out detail. For me.
Can you hear me?
Oh, are you? Oh, could you not hear me?
I hear you now. You're good. It was a tiny bit robotic-y.
Oh, okay, all right. What I was saying is just that what was I saying? Right. I don't know if there's something up with my eyes, but if there's a lot going on screen, like there was with the Garganto fight, it's hard for me to pick out like little nitpicky details like that.
Yeah.
It's just hard for me to see that sort of stuff, like those little bits.
And that's the thing is, it wasn't that entire scene because, like what you're saying, whenever a lot of motion is happening, because he's got all these like, or I'm thinking of the previous scene, the other Doctor Strange and America Chavez.
Yeah,
you have this creature. Yeah, you have this creature that has all these tentacles and stuff. So a lot of movement is happening, and when that's happening, it's not as you don't notice it, or it's purposely so you don't notice it. But whenever it's like dead and there's not a lot of motion going on, like what you were saying when they're jumping out of the door, like you notice it a lot more because the camera is still, the action is still, so you're able to focus on this environment more.
Yeah. Also, small nitpick. The movie opens on Dead Strange and America speaking Spanish with each other. Spend the rest of the movie talking English. What's up with that?
Yeah,
They
I
say two
kind of
lines of Spanish to each other and then speak English. If you both
that's
have
the
two
thing.
languages in common, you should just kind of pick one. I think, huh?
That's kind of what I thought there as well. Like ultimately, that is like I don't even
Uh
think
oh,
it's
you're
the
gone.
writer doing. Oh, can you hear me now?
Hello.
Hold on. Let me go run and get a Ethernet cable real quick.
Thing is telling me I have an unstable Wi-Fi connection. Are you there? Oh, I think he got up and walked away. Um,
1 second. Hold on.
oh, there you are.
Yeah, I'm getting an Ethernet cable since this is happening.
Uh oh. Wow.
All right.
This
Can
is
you
our
hear me
first one
now?
of the. Yeah, I can hear you. This is our first one of these on a live stream.
Yes, I'm now hacked into the mainframe. I'm good to go.
Ah, this is a Unix system. He knows this.
Yeah,
He's hacked
I
into the mainframe. He's got direct access.
that was the one thing I forgot to do at the beginning was plug in an Ethernet cable because I've
I
had
can't
some trouble with some other live stream people with that.
I can't believe you. You know what? I'm sending my own assassins now.
It's a bunch of hacker assassins.
Yeah, hack
This this
assassins.
this plebe has only 2G Wi-Fi.
They're a new they're a new hack assassin, a group called the Black Hats. So
Oh yeah,
anyway,
Doctor
but
Strange.
yeah, all of the like criticisms that I've mentioned that aren't my own that I've been seeing a lot uh so far are things from outside the MCU community. Now here are some things I've heard from inside the Marvel fan community. Some people are saying, and this astounds me, there weren't enough cameos in the movie.
What do they mean, like Marvel characters?
Yeah, like more Marvel characters. Which, to be honest, like at this point, I don't think people know what a cameo is. Like, I don't think anybody really understands the difference between a cameo and a role anymore.
Yeah, I think what they're thinking is like, wait, why is there not a side character that has over 30 minutes of screen time within this?
Exactly. Like, so here's to me the difference between a cameo and a role. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still there.
Oh, okay. I thought. Sorry, the way your voice downturns after your last statement, it sounded like I lost you. All right.
No,
So,
yeah, you're good.
okay. So for me, the difference between a cameo and a role. A cameo is what Bruce Campbell did in this movie.
Yeah, yeah,
A role is the Illuminati characters.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
So those aren't cameos to begin with in like actual terms, as far as I'm
Yeah,
concerned. Second, I think people were expecting them to play a bigger role in the movie than they did. I thought they served their purpose fine.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Also, one thing I'm oh sorry, you go ahead because I have a bit of a rant coming.
Well, I was gonna say I didn't expect this universe's Illuminati. Like they introduced all these people. I didn't expect like, oh yeah, yeah, all of these people are going to be mainstay right here, starting in this movie. That's
Yeah, no,
cramming
that's
too much at the audience for a movie that's like doesn't have Avengers in the title.
yeah. Well, honestly, at this point, I feel like the movies are the new tentpole events, while the TV shows are the regular MCU at this point.
They are, but ultimately kind of what they're doing now, which I like it, is basically Marvel 2-in-1.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, like every movie feature, every sequel so far, we'll say, every
Yeah, yeah.
sequel so far in Phase 4 has been a team up in some regard.
Yeah.
And I like that. It functionally
Yeah.
makes every movie an Avengers movie,
Yeah.
regardless of whose name is in the title. But
Yeah. Yeah.
anyway, so here's my little rant that I have coming. A lot of people are commenting on the fact that Reed Richards is supposed to be the smartest man in the world, and he literally warns Wanda about Black Bolt's power, thus giving her the opportunity to start with him. To me, and a lot of people are saying that like that's stupid. Why would the smartest man in the world do something that's stupid? So to me, that's not being stupid. That's being arrogant enough to believe that they can just deal with her,
Yeah.
and B, he's trying to reason with her. He is extending her the courtesy of a warning.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
That's not him being stupid. That's him trying to reason her out of doing what she's doing. He
Yeah.
had no idea she was going to just straight up murder everyone there.
Yeah. And if you still don't buy that, which that's perfect reasoning, that's exactly what is going on there. You can always just say, well, this is a slightly dumber Mr. Fantastic or whatever.
Yeah.
There's so many universes. I'm sure there are Mr. Fantastics that are smarter than others.
Yeah, he's not even 616 Mr. Fantastic, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
He's someone else's Mr. Fantastic. A Fantastic Four movie was announced.
Yeah.
So yeah. Also, I am so ready. Oh my goodness, Brandon, you have no idea how ready I am for all of you, all those nerds out there. That's right, all you nerds. I'm talking to you now. You dirty little sweaty basement dwelling nerds out there. That's right. You're pushing your glasses up your nose like, man, I'm getting ready to type a comment. I'm talking to you right now. I'm so ready for them to be mad. So ready for them to be mad that the MCU's main timeline was numbered 616 in this movie.
Are people mad about that?
I don't know that they are yet, but they're going to be. Because
yeah.
and here's why that's going to make them mad. Their whole their because okay. So I have been like watching people's bad takes and bad criticisms, because everyone except for me is wrong about these movies, and I know that. But I've been watching everybody's bad takes and bad criticisms about these movies on the basis that it's supposed to be a part of the Marvel multiverse already, like unfold over the years since Endgame. Like, so many people are mad that the Infinity Stones worked outside their own universe in Endgame, which is a pointless thing to be mad about because the plot has to work somehow. And so they're like, if this is going to be part of Marvel's multiverse, then it needs to play by the rules. It needs to stick to the rules that were set before it. And now, if the MCU's main timeline is numbered 616, then this isn't a part of Marvel's multiverse anymore. It's just an adaptation of it now, which is what it's always been.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah,
as an adaptation, that makes it more free to stretch and break and ignore the rules that these nerds have been living their lives by for so long. That's right, you nerds out there. You little rule-following nerds. Guess what? It doesn't matter. It never mattered.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, yeah.
So go back to your mama's basement, you nerd. Yeah. That's right. I'm like, whoever's watching this right now, I'm singling you out specifically. Just imagine I'm saying your name. I know your name, but I'm not gonna say it.
Which I heard it's ultimately a nitpick. It's very tiny. It shouldn't cause that much concern or anything. But again, nerds will freak out over it. Mysterio in Far From Home, whenever he was doing the whole bullcrap thing of I'm from another multiverse, he mentions calling this universe the 616 universe. So the one tiny nitpick that people are having, which I will agree, but ultimately it doesn't matter that much, is like, wow, Mysterio got very lucky in guessing that number, or he wasn't entirely lying and he knew a little bit about multiverse stuff and somehow knew that this one was called 616.
Yeah, I think it's an instance of so Far From Home and Multiverse of Madness, I'm assuming, have different writers.
Yeah, no,
So
no.
I think it's just an
Looking
instance
outside.
of like the writers had the same idea.
No. Yeah, if you're not looking in universe, literally what it is writers had the same idea and
Yeah,
didn't look at those tiny details within other movies. That's ultimately
yeah,
what it is when you're pulling back, looking at it from the actual creators making it. I'm just
yeah.
saying in universe,
Oh yeah, from an
likely,
in-universe perspective, I think the likelihood is he just got extremely lucky.
yeah, out of out of like the thousands, if not millions or billions of possibilities, he nailed it just right.
Honestly, it is an infinite multiverse, so I will
Yeah.
say it's probably just that like Far From Home as like a story probably plays out across more than once universe, like more than one universe. All of
Yeah,
those
yeah.
Mysterios probably came up with the same number. He was just the only one who was right.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah. That's actually a good point. Yeah. They all decided on, for some reason, the number 616, and this universe's Mysterio was the only one that was right.
I'm Mysterio, and I actually called the universe I was in 742. I was wrong. It's 1046. Got the 40 right though.
Yeah. But that was like the tiniest nitpick, which ultimately does not matter. It is what we just said. It's
Yeah, yeah, it's a nitpick.
writers. Yeah, it's writers like understandably not paying attention to the teeniest tiny details within all of these movies.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, it's tiny nitpick. It shouldn't like burst your whole bubble of like none of this makes sense anymore. It's like, no,
yeah.
dude, chill. Like
You see,
you can have that little tidbit or that little like nitpick fact that you can bring up to someone, but that's about the extent it should be.
I totally forgot that Mysterio numbered their universe.
I forgot that as well. The whole reason I found this out was like because of people online talking about it. I forgot he numbered it. So yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, that's one of those things where like, and you know what? Since then, all the little nerds have at least had the justification of like, oh well, he's not actually from the multiverse, so he could be wrong. But now
Yeah.
they can't. Now they can't hide behind that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. This isn't universe 19999. However many nines there were in it before when they numbered it, however many years ago. Because they did number this universe. It's just that was never in the text of the films, so it doesn't
Yeah. Yeah.
matter.
Yeah.
You know what? You know what is in the text of the films now? 616
616.
twice.
Boom.
So that makes this an adaptation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Goodness
Um,
gracious. It's like, and for me, it's like, I don't know why I care so much. It's just, it's just, I don't know. Just people are wasting their time complaining about this. Enjoy something.
yeah. Exactly. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's a good movie. To me, it's at least good. And I
Yeah.
have the minority opinion. Likely, listener, if you somehow haven't watched it yet, you'll probably think it's great or love it because like a
Yeah.
lot of people do think it's that, and I'm glad that people are liking the movie.
For me, it is my favorite movie of Phase 4 so far. I anticipate Love and Thunder is probably going to dethrone it because I just like Taika Waititi's take on Thor. But yeah, for now, Doctor Strange in the Mom is my favorite Phase 4 movie.
What are the current ones that are out that are Phase 4?
Phase 4 movies are Black
Yeah.
Widow, Shang-Chi, Eternals, No Way Home, and Mom.
Okay. I think for me, this is in the middle of that because I like it more than Eternals. I like it more than Black Widow, but I do like Shang-Chi more, and I like No Way Home more.
You see, for me, I would say if I were to number them, I'm making a YouTube friendly numbered list here. Um, my number 1 right now would be Doctor Strange. Number 2 is probably No Way Home. Number 3 is Shang-Chi. 4 would be Black Widow, and 5 is Eternals so far. But
Yeah.
I anticipate Eternals dropping further down the list as more movies are added on.
Yeah, I'm sure the same will happen with me.
And honestly, probably Black Widow too. I like Black Widow. Not the strongest MCU movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. Ultimately, it is a good movie.
Yeah,
But
as with all things, not as bad as the haters say it is, not as good as the fanboys say it is. It's just in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the best way to put it. Yeah. But yeah, with this one, like there's something I was gonna mention. Oh yeah, like the stuff trying to think if there's anything else I disliked or nitpick.
I do want to comment on the theater experience real quick, like what the audience was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
because it wasn't negative.
Yeah. We had
I
a pretty
was I was there with a group of friends, and one thing that I noticed throughout the entire theater is no one could take the Illuminati seriously just on the basis of their name.
really.
The second,
They're like laughing.
the second Baron Mordo was like, "And now I'm going to introduce you to the Illuminati." Like one of the friends I was there was like, "What the." Like I heard her voice like carry, and like
Yeah.
when her like as her voice carried across the theater, I feel like that prompted other people to start giggling.
Yeah, that's funny.
So yeah, and and every time it was brought up, I would hear someone like snicker a little bit, and like some people would be like, "Oh, that's kind of doofy." And it's like, and you know, I can't disagree with that. I have like even in the comics, ever since I was a kid, I've hated that name for that group.
Yeah. Well, even like even if you like the name for the comics or whatever, it is like kind of like Chapat. What was I about to say? Chapat. I don't know what I was about to say.
Chapat? That's a
I
new
don't know
word.
what I was
Put it
about
on
to say.
Urban Dictionary. Make a sex
There's
move
a
out of it.
bit. I could see how it would be like shocking. That's what I was trying to say. For those that like hadn't heard the name from the comics, but ultimately just know about like the funny conspiracy thing of Illuminati and everyone doing triangles and all that stuff. So when you hear it said like seriously in this movie with superheroes and stuff, I could see that being like shockingly like humorous kind of.
Yeah. Now, one thing that I think they did right though, especially with a name like the Illuminati, is just Steven just making fun of them.
Oh yeah,
one at a time. Every time someone pops up, he has a joke, and it's like, you know what? You see, for as many criticisms as there are for Marvel's sense of humor overall, I feel like out of all of these characters, if I were a superhero, I this probably isn't a positive thing to say. If I were a superhero, my personality would probably be like that of Doctor Strange. Arrogant, thinks he's better than everybody, well, because I am, and constantly making jokes at everyone else's expense.
Yeah.
Not that Strange constantly makes jokes in this movie. It's just like I like the Doctor Strange movie's sense of humor because they aren't endlessly quippy like a lot of Marvel movies are. It's just like the main character has a particular sense of humor and he just injects it where he can.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a normal person.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like I like that about him. But anyway, that's getting off topic though. I didn't come here to criticize Marvel's humor. today,
Oh,
because at this
I did
point
want
it's
to.
just a part of the films.
Yeah, yeah. I did want to mention with my theater going experience, it was interesting because I took the youth group to go see it, and one of the kids has not seen a single MCU movie, so it's
Oh,
very interesting. Like hasn't
yeah.
and it's a girl, and I would expect, like, I'm not like stereotyping or anything, but the Spider-Man movies are like, if you're a girl and you haven't seen any MCU movies, you've probably seen at least one of the Spider-Man movies.
Yeah.
Like that's generally how it has been when I've talked with people. Like that's my general consensus. Now, that's not a widespread study. That is essentially a study within a very small part of Northwest Florida. So maybe it's different in your region, listener. But that is what I've seen. And so yeah, she hadn't seen any of the MCU movies, and I remember we all went to eat fast food before we went to see the movie,
Ah,
and I was
yes.
trying to.
Fast food from generic fast food restaurants. Registered
Yes,
trademark.
yes. uh, we were eating, and like I found out she didn't know about it, and I was like, okay, I'll give you like a 1 to 2 minute like little crash course of like tiny things you might need to know before this movie. I
Were you
didn't
actually able
explain.
to keep it? Okay, were you actually able to keep it under 2 minutes?
For the most part, it was like 2 to 3 minutes. Like
Okay.
ultimately, I briefly talked about WandaVision, not the show as a whole, but like ultimately who Scarlet Witch is, what happened to her by the end, and oh well, yeah, this world has magic. Like explaining it a tiny bit, but
Yeah.
again, she hasn't seen
They're
any of the
wizards,
stuff.
Harry.
Well, it's one of those things where like I've noticed people, whenever someone hasn't seen a thing from a genre or a franchise or whatever, and someone then explains it to them, it's like you're going into too much detail. Like you're
Yeah.
losing them. Like they're off in space now. They have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, and that's the thing about superheroes too, especially like in a world that's been going on this long. It is so hard to get someone in with an explanation.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, you're not trying to, you shouldn't try to get them in, but just kind of with this, I was just trying to catch her up to speed at least a little
Yeah.
bit so she wasn't confused by this or that. That I didn't explain because some people would be like, well, did you tell her about what if? Because there was a lot of theories of like, oh, Peggy
Yeah.
Carter's going to be in this. No, I don't explain that because that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
She hasn't seen the movie, but I'm sure she's seen a picture of Captain America. She's watching this movie. She sees that like multiverse stuff, so she can piece together in her head like, oh, this is multiverse female Captain America. That's all she needs.
Yeah.
She doesn't need
This is
more than that.
multiverse British female Captain America.
Yeah, like
But
people go
yeah,
into too much detail with that type of stuff.
and I agree. Plus, that wasn't the what if version of Captain Carter anyway. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, like I definitely get that too. Like it's just an extraneous detail that doesn't need to be elaborated on.
Yeah,
Like if you can get someone up to like a just the most baseline understanding of what's happening, I feel like they
yeah.
can go into this movie just fine.
Yeah, I just like briefly explained who Doctor Strange was. I briefly explained who Scarlet Witch was and how WandaVision ended. Um, and then with Spider-Man No Way Home, because I wasn't sure if it was going to play into that a lot or not. I briefly
Mm.
explained like what Doctor Strange did and that he fixed it. That's all I did.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, I would say narratively, uh, if you're just watching like the main storyline unfold so as far as I can tell, No Way Home is actually kind of skippable.
Yeah, yeah.
I wouldn't skip it because it's really good, but
It's really good,
kind of
but
skippable
for
technically.
this, at least for this movie, like
Yeah,
you don't need to see No Way Home. Like
yeah. If you're just
before,
trying to get
whenever I
caught
was
up for Doctor Strange, No Way Home is actually unnecessary.
yeah, like whenever I was explaining it to her, like I hadn't seen Doctor Strange 2 yet, so I just assumed there might be a few more stuff dealing with No Way Home in it. Um, just based on trailers, like hearing Wanda say, "You did this, and you're a good guy,
Yeah.
and I did this, you're a bad guy." Like, they emphasize on that, and I'm not saying they needed to emphasize on that in the movie. I'm just saying that's what I was thinking, so I wanted to add a little bit of that to that explanation. But yeah, you don't have to see that movie to see this movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did the tiniest little crash course on getting her ready for this, and then she sees the movie, and like some of the kids are like, she's going to be so lost in this. And I was kind of thinking, like, before the movie started, I was like, yeah, she's probably going to be lost in some parts. She saw it, and by the end of it, I asked her, like, what'd you think? She was like, that was pretty good. Like, and I asked her, like, were you able to, like, follow along with it and stuff? She was like, yeah, like, I had no problem at all. So that just shows, like, it's not the best jumping on point, but
not impenetrable.
yeah, it's possible. It
Yeah.
is possible. And like what was funny is she hasn't watched the MCU movies. I don't think has watched any of the Fox movies or anything like that. She doesn't read comics or anything like that. So whenever you get the big Illuminati scene, which I'm sure this was the same with your theater, possibly, whenever you get Reed Richards walk in, you hear everyone like, like
that is the only
like
one that got an
gasp and all
audible
that.
reaction out of my crowd.
Oh,
wait,
okay.
no. No, I'm misremembering. Sorry, Professor X was the one who got the audible reaction. I heard
There
a
was
couple people here and there. Yeah, I heard a couple people here and there being like, "Oh, hey," for Reed Richards, especially since it was John Krasinski looking literally exactly like all the fan art. But but like the only one that got like an audible reaction out of my theater was Professor X.
We got an audible reaction out of almost any of them. Like
Even
definitely
Black
with
Bolt?
Mr. Fantastic. No, hold on, I'll get to that. With Mr. Fantastic, you got it. Professor X, you definitely got it. Who else was there? Is it
Peggy
Monica
Carter?
Rambeau?
It's Maria Rambeau.
Maria, yeah, her mom.
Why did they give them such similar names?
Whenever Maria Rambeau came on, like, for the nerds, we knew it, but no one was like gasping or anything. But I heard like a couple people be like, "Huh? Like who?"
yeah. Whoa, Captain Marvel's girlfriend.
well, it was just like based on like all of those other things, like people being like, oh, and then like they see that it's like, "Ooh," like, yeah. But that was also kind of similar with Black Bolt. Like Black Bolt came on, and like everyone was either like snickering a little bit, or like, or
well, that's because they used his full name.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, what was funny was talking to her. She had mentioned, like whenever that, she said, I guess the only thing I didn't like experience as everyone else was whenever all those people came in the Illuminati. She was like, I have no idea who those people are. So whenever people were going, ooh, she was like, okay, there's John Krasinski. There's that. Like she has no like
no context
background
for it.
Or no context for it. So she's like, okay, these are just people.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. See, for me, one thing that I thought was super cool, for Black Bolt in particular, is the fact that they actually got like Anson Mount back to be him for that scene.
Yeah.
I thought that was neat because everyone knows the Inhumans TV show was terrible, it's horrible, and it's not any of the actors' faults. It's just a bad show.
Yeah. Like budget, writing, all that. Like the MCU, it's MCU's like thing they're trying to sweep under the rug. But with this, I mean, like not entirely. Like you
like they got a Black Bolt. Honestly, based on what I saw in this movie, which was not a lot, I wouldn't be opposed to them actually trying for an Inhumans movie, or heck, even a TV show again, with Anson Mount back to be Black Bolt again. Just just do it the way you're doing it now instead of the way you were doing it back then.
Yeah, you also just need to like space this out and be careful. Like if you're going to eventually like introduce mutants, like
Oh
hold
yeah,
off,
doing
as well
Inhumans and mutants at the same time would
as I know they're not the same. They're extremely different, but like someone hold on,
are
no,
they?
not mutants. No, not mutants. Hold on. Eternals. Like a lot of people are gonna be
Uh
like,
yeah.
wait a second, like what is this? Like
Yeah.
royalty and all, like they're gonna draw stuff like that. They're gonna be like, all three of these are going on at the same time and they all feel extremely similar.
Yeah, because like Inhumans is kind of halfway between Eternals and X-Men in terms of like what it
Yeah.
is. Like, cause to me, whenever I have to describe the Inhumans to someone who's not familiar with Marvel Comics, all I tell them is it's the X-Men with extra steps.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how I simplify it and break it down.
Yeah.
Now, honestly, because of the movies, I feel like I might have to start saying it's the Eternals with extra steps.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because
Oh, I've
honestly, yeah,
got
now that you mention it, they are slightly more comparable in terms of
yeah.
like aesthetic. Because Inhumans, they are the most Jack Kirby thing co-created by Stan Lee.
Yeah.
Like they are the most Jack Kirby thing that he supposedly didn't create himself. That the official story says he didn't create himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, like I can see the comparisons between the Inhumans and the Eternals.
Yeah. But yeah, if you're introducing all of those now, like yeah, you're gonna have to cut one or not play into that much of one. And
Yeah.
Inhumans would likely be it.
Yeah, I can definitely see Inhumans being the one that they would be like the most gun shy about, especially given their track record with it so far.
Yeah.
But yeah, so one more thing about like the theater experience
Yeah.
for me is, excuse me, I've been drinking soda, and it makes me gassy. So when the Evil Dead part of the movie starts,
Yeah.
and you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
As soon as this movie had a zombie wizard with a cape made from the stitched together souls of the damned, I leaned over to one of my friends in the theater and said directly to him, "This is the best movie that has ever been put on film."
Yeah. That was like really cool. Because yeah, you
Yeah,
have like undead Doctor Strange doing the like pulling all these souls of the damned together to make a cape out of it and stuff. It's like this is like pretty awesome, like
yeah,
gothically or horror like, but it's
yeah.
also very metal. It's very metal.
Oh yeah, that's the most heavy metal thing that's been in a Marvel movie. And the thing is, another thing that I really love in general as an aesthetic is like tons of arms. I have no idea why I like that. I just do. So like the fact that he like had all of these arms just sticking out of his back with that cape was like it was awesome. I
Yeah.
loved it. I loved it. A lot of people are saying that the third act of the movie was bad and that Marvel generally has bad third acts, and I I really don't see it. I don't see why in particular the third act of that movie would be criticized so much more than the rest of it. It didn't feel any different than the rest of the movie to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't really have a complaint with it. Like the third act, I don't like.
Yeah. You see, that's why I brought it up. I wanted to know whether or not you had anything to say about it because you tend to be you think more critically than I do. So I wanted to see if you had an opinion on that.
Like it was gonna be like a battle no matter what. That's what it was
Yeah,
like going towards. It didn't feel like out of left field or anything, or like it didn't feel like a Wonder Woman, like first Wonder Woman ending, where the third
yeah,
act it's the big battle and you're like, my eyes are glazing over. Um, no, it didn't feel like that at all.
yeah,
Like it
yeah,
was leading to that. It was building to that.
yeah. Like when people say this movie had a bad third act, I genuinely have no idea what they're talking about, especially since the third act included the zombie wizard with the dead souls
Yeah.
cape.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, like, because there's a lot of like pros I want to talk about, but I do want to finish up on like my nitpicks or negative stuff. There was one thing.
Critiques.
Yeah, there was one thing that maybe you have an answer for. I'm not sure. And I later saw that this was online, but I thought this in the middle of the movie was, how come Wanda just can't create the kids again?
I think because they're not. If she does it, if she just creates them again, they're technically not real. Like she would have to maintain them.
Okay, so it's more
And
of
so
like a
effectively,
mental thing with her.
yeah, and I think like the day she dies, they would just fade.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay.
like you see, that was my thought as well. But then like you see the way that she handles like creating new things, since WandaVision, and like here, like where she has that whole apple grove, and Doctor Strange sniffs the thing and mentions that like, oh, this smells real, and she at first tells him it is, but then like she dispels it, and it's just a barren forest of dead trees. And it's like, to me that says it's like the reality stone. She has to actively maintain her like fabrications.
Yeah, and well, also I'm just thinking like mentally, she, based on like what you just said, it made me think about this. She unconsciously has like mentally tricked herself into believing that the kids that she created are, hold on, I'm losing my train of thought. It's only noon.
Yeah.
um uh uh I don't know, almost like she has mentally tricked herself into like the kids that she created with WandaVision, like tricked herself into like not thinking she like created them. Like ultimately it's like not magic sense, but like they were like there because like Doctor Strange and Wong would tell her constantly like, Wanda, they were never real. Like
Yeah.
you made them. And like she would constantly like go against that notion, kind of, to where like the only thing rational or the only thing she sees in her mind of getting these kids back is to pull them from another universe rather than create like magically creating them, because she sees magically creating them as like, oh, they're not real. Whereas like what I did before, she's tricked her mind or whatever into thinking like, no, they came about like
Here, okay, here's where I think the line of logic goes. So they establish in this movie that dreams are glimpses into alternate versions of ourselves.
Mhm.
So I think Wanda, even before WandaVision, was regularly dreaming of those boys through alternate versions of herself. And so when she fabricated them with her magic inside the hex, um, she was unconsciously calling on her memories of her dreams of the sons she has in alternate lives. So even though the ones she creates in this world aren't real, she knows her sons are real somewhere, and that's why she wants to go find them.
Okay, yeah.
That's where I think the line of logic like starts and ends.
Yeah, I
And
can
to
see that.
her, that means um, either killing an alternate Wanda or permanently occupying an alternate Wanda's body and just being a mother to a random pair of Billy and Tommy.
Yeah, I can see that.
But yeah, also I think it's made pretty apparent that studying the Darkhold had a negative influence on her.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, I feel like there is an easy argument to be made here that this is like character assassination. I personally don't think that's the case. I think it is a case of like this character, you know, that they make it pretty clear that the Darkhold has a corrupting influence through that
Yeah.
alternate Strange who kept his copy. Um, and you know had the third eye and all that. And even then,
Yeah.
like after the Darkhold was destroyed, when 616 Strange grows that third eye, which I'm kind of starting to wonder what that's about now. But yeah, like so the Darkhold has like an immediately corrupting influence upon anyone who uses it.
Yeah.
So like I'm pretty sure that while Wanda's motivations for doing what she's doing belong to her, like her desire for those boys is real. The fact that she's actually acting on it is probably the Darkhold's influence.
Yeah.
My thought is that she initially studied it just to see if she could find a way to like permanently recreate them, and the conclusion that the book led her to through its corruption is, well, you gotta go kill an alternate version of yourself and just kidnap the boys.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. Ultimately, just distorting her mind into believing that's the way you do it.
Because one thing I noticed, like one costume detail I noticed that I really liked is her blackened fingertips.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is a detail, like a design detail that she shares with Agatha Harkness.
Oh, okay.
Agatha's fingertips were also blackened, I assume, from regularly reading the Darkhold.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh. And so I think that actually might play into the House of Harkness Disney Plus show that they have planned now, where when Agatha. So wait, okay. So with the way the movie ends, I don't. Firstly, I don't think slash don't like. I hope that Wanda's not dead. I hope she got out personally, because I want a redemption arc for that character now that she's had her time as a villain, and B, like she's one of the most interesting characters in this universe right now. They can't do away with her like that.
Yeah, she's not dead. They're going to bring her back some way because it was so zoomed out when the tower collapsed. Like usually,
yeah. Plus, there was that little red flash as it was collapsing. So like,
yeah.
So to me, I think either A, the events of this movie freed Agatha from the weird psychological prison Wanda locked her in, or B, Wanda is going to go free her in her show.
Oh yeah.
For one reason or another, I don't know. I think the easier explanation is that Wanda just let go of that spell and she's free now.
She's released. Yeah, that would make sense.
That way they don't have to like get Elizabeth Olsen back for like an episode or two.
Yeah.
Well, heck, you know what? Actually, I think it would be more interesting if Scarlet Witch was the antagonist of the Agatha show now, like completely reversing their roles.
Yeah, have the focus the entire time be on Agatha.
Yeah, like basically show that. One thing I think would be interesting is like if they show that Agatha's like time away from the Darkhold has let her mind clear, and so now like her story would be about like either fighting Wanda, who is still kind of under that influence, or maybe trying to help bring her back. You know, take on that mentor role that she has with her in the comics.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, but ultimately, I only had like a few nitpicks. There's a ton of stuff I like. The best scene in the movie to me, I know it's different for everyone. I loved the multiverse crashing scene.
That is a good scene.
It's such an amazing scene. I love watching like Corridor Digital and Corridor Crew. I know a year from now they're going to break down that scene because it's like visually like so awesome, and they're going to talk about how difficult it is because it looks insane and difficult. But yeah, that was like such a good scene, and that's showing like where the visuals and stuff are really good. The beginning of the movie, visuals a bit iffy here and there, but yeah, I loved that scene.
Yeah. For me, I want to say my favorite scene in the movie. I think I probably already talked about my favorite scene. It is the rise of Zombie Strange, and
Yeah.
taking over the spirits and all that like that. I think that's my favorite scene. Good contender for second favorite scene, the music battle.
Yeah, the music battle was really good.
I liked that. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, it was really cool.
At
And yeah,
first, you
like
might think it's weird that they run with the theme for the whole fight, but I think they just like needed a source, and music was the most readily available thing.
yeah, because it was like there were instruments scattered throughout that room.
Yeah, because magic, even in like Marvel, it needs a source. Like you have to draw it from something.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange doesn't have the magic in him, and it's not the power of friendship, despite what fairy tale would have you believe.
Yeah, that scene was really good. Like I loved. I'll talk about like more scenes in a second, but in general, I really liked how this is kind of a horror movie because I had one young teen who was like, "Wow, like there's actually some kind of spooky stuff here and there."
Yeah,
Um, I do like that, and Sam Raimi definitely pushed the PG-13 thing, especially with like
yeah,
Illuminati stuff. Like
yeah.
it
I
was.
think people have a tendency to forget how far PG-13 is allowed to go.
I forgot how far it can go with like violence and gore,
Yeah,
because like I forgot you could show because ultimately PG-13 when it comes to like gore and stuff, I think of Men in Black where like yes, it's extremely gory, but the blood is green, the blood is
yeah.
blue,
It's
the
all
guts are
alien bits.
yeah. Whereas like you have that Black Bolt scene that's like holy crap because like
That was traumatizing.
another director or filmmaker would cut away as the head is expanding before it goes like the big
Yeah, pops like a
explosion.
balloon.
But no, we see it and we
Yeah,
see like brain and all that stuff.
yeah.
Like
It was horrifying. And then
yeah,
like the way that like Mr. Fantastic's head pops after he's string cheesed.
yes.
It's not. It doesn't pop in a gory way, but the fact that it pops is bad enough.
Yeah, and like you don't see it like literally cut through, but you do see it split whenever Captain Carter gets cut in
Yeah.
half with her shield. Um,
And then Captain Marvel
Professor
getting
X,
smashed with with a statue.
yeah, Professor X getting his neck snapped. Um, yeah, that, but that Black Bolt one, I was like, holy cow, this is PG-13.
Okay. Yeah. I lost you for a second there.
Oh, sorry. But I was just saying, like with that Black Bolt one, it
Yeah.
did get me where I was like, dang, this
Yeah.
is PG-13.
Yeah. I would say the least graphic death out of that whole group was Captain Marvel because she just gets smashed under a statue.
Yeah, we see that in a bunch of Marvel movies.
But yeah, like I just said a second ago. I don't know if you could hear me because it's when we were losing our connection. But like Professor X's head getting like twisted around like a bottle cap.
Yeah, oh yeah,
That's
yeah.
and I heard people go no in the theater when that happened. Again, he was the only one who got an audible reaction.
Yeah,
Like people
even in
cheered
his
when he
death.
showed up
Yeah.
and mourned when he died.
Yeah, it was. I liked the horror that was in it. I liked most of the chase scene with like Wanda chasing them and stuff. Very
Yeah.
like Carrie or Friday the 13th esque
Yeah,
kind of.
that was a scary scene. One of my favorite like bits of horror in the movie is the reflection sequence
Yes. Oh
when
my
they catch
gosh.
her in that like
Yes.
mirror dimension bear trap and she uses it against them.
Yeah, that was the first bit where I was like, "Oh crap! Like this is horror. This
Yeah,
movie is like part of its genre is horror." Is when I saw
yeah,
that scene.
Yeah, that's definitely the start of the movie's like horror stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's it does a pretty good job with that. Um, what was I gonna? I felt like I had something.
I will say
Oh
though
right.
with
Oh
oh
okay,
yeah,
yeah, you
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Oh, I was
Oh,
gonna
okay.
say
So
you go, you go.
this is okay. This is the third time they've made us watch Patrick Stewart's Professor X die on screen.
Yes.
Um, Second, this is a better Dark Phoenix movie than either of the X-Men versions of that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Scarlet Witch is she's so powerful. Like
Yeah, and Scarlet Witch really is for the Avengers what Jean is for the X-Men. You know what I
yeah, yeah,
mean?
true. Yeah.
So like, yeah, it makes sense. But like, yeah, like this is yeah, like I said, this is a better Dark Phoenix movie than either of the Fox X-Men attempts at a Dark Phoenix movie.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I will say though, going back to that hallway chase scene, I liked it. The tiniest, again, another nitpick. I didn't like where it's typical horror movie. They turn around and are
And they
with
stand there.
like the door closed. They stand there. Like, yes, in a typical horror movie that works because you're expecting that. This is MCU. They have like different logic and stuff, like actual
Yeah.
thinking involved. So I was like, that doesn't work in this.
Yeah, and you
I
see
know what you're doing, but
for me at first it looked like they'd hit a dead end, so I was okay with it. But then they kept running after she came around the door, and I was like, oh
yeah,
well, why did they stop then?
yeah, they just did the horror movie thing, but that tiny part doesn't work in this universe, in
Yeah,
this multiverse.
because yeah, yeah, because like this is because it's not as if the monster chasing them is some unknown quantity. This is one of Steven's coworkers.
Yeah,
Chase. I know
yeah,
that's a weird way to put it, but like they don't have like a friend relationship as far as I can tell. They haven't interacted that much. In fact, as far as I know, this is the first time those two characters have interacted in these movies. So like, yeah, she's a coworker. She's not exactly a friend, but like still, like your coworker is chasing you with a knife down a hallway. You should generally know what they're capable of.
yeah, yeah. You've
Like you're not
seen
going to
all
stop
the
and
stuff.
turn around and watch your coworker walk up and stab you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it ultimately was just like trying to feel like a callback to like those type of horror movies and stuff, as well as like
Yeah.
I don't know if it played any loud noises or anything. Possibly try to do a jump scare because she doesn't
Mm.
crash through the wall. She like comes from the side. So like I don't know if they were trying to do a jump scare with that or not. Um, but yeah, like that was the tiniest little nitpick when it came to that horror element. And I was like, that doesn't work for this.
Yeah. I will say though, generally speaking, this movie's horror is well done, and it's like oftentimes all the kinds of horror that I typically like there's some body horror in there with like the weird contorted position Wanda was in when she came out of that
Yeah,
mirror.
yeah,
And like slasher horror with the monster chasing them down the hallway, that
yeah.
being Wanda. That sort of stuff. It's like it's all the interesting parts of horror, even like weird over the top gothic horror with the zombie strange thing.
Yeah, and there's also like callbacks to, not saying this is scary or anything, but callbacks to like 70s Italian horror with like
Mm.
whenever they're dream walking and stuff. The initial thing where it's like zooming in on their eye as they're like about to dream walk or they're thinking about dream walking or whatever. It's like that feels
Yeah,
like something from those like old Gallo Italian horror movies. Like that feels
yeah,
like the atmospheric type of horror, or like the visual surreal type horror.
yeah, yeah. I will say I'm not very familiar with Italian horror.
That felt very much like that. And then like yeah, I don't know. It had like some good horror elements. Like ultimately, I think PG-13 it did well. Now this
Hmm.
is just Brandon being Brandon, but
Oh, that Brandon.
man, would have it had, at least for the horror elements, been awesome to have a rated R.
Yeah,
Not saying it needed to be, because ultimately it was good,
Yeah,
but
I feel like they were pretty effective with the rating they had.
yeah, they were definitely effective. But me, in the horror realm, you're less restricted, not just like gore and all this stuff, but you're less restricted with that rated R in the type of horror and stuff that you can do.
Yeah.
But ultimately, yeah, it was very effective for PG-13 horror.
Yeah, and I will say I'm of the opinion, especially since so far in the MCU these characters don't have a horror history. I will say, in my opinion, superhero horror doesn't really need to extend much further past a PG-13.
No, it doesn't at all. That's just like a me internally, like in another universe, me
Yeah,
wanting
yeah,
to see that. Not that it fits or really connects with this universe. It'd just be an interesting thing for me to see.
Brandon of Earth number 492 wants to see a rated R Doctor Strange in the mom.
Yeah. Oh, that's going to be rated X.
Oh, I think I've already seen that one actually. Anyway, um, uh,
I
but
feel
yeah,
like
like
there's
from
some.
and especially since like superhero horror in movies is something that hasn't been touched on a lot. Now it is something that has been done weirdly enough actually with movies like Brightburn.
Yeah, yeah,
Um but like yeah, overall like people don't typically associate superheroes and horror with each other. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, yeah,
so like I think it is interesting that like um we do have like a big mainstream release now that is considered superhero horror, and hopefully Warner Brothers looks at what has been done with Doctor Strange here and green lights either an Animal Man, Swamp Thing, or Justice League Dark movie that will actually be good.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Now that Marvel and Sam Raimi have shown everyone that superheroes actually can be an effective vehicle for uh, horror themes at the very least.
yeah. Oh, this isn't a nitpick. This is just like an in-universe thing. The one universe they finally like stop on and are in about a third of the movie. I don't like that memory machine. Why
Oh
does
yeah,
everyone around me? Why does everyone around me have to see it?
oh, like on a personal level, you don't like it.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
can
Because
you
I'm
hear me?
saying
Okay,
if
all right,
I,
all right. I couldn't see
well,
my thing moving.
oh, sorry. I was saying like if I'm standing on that, because
Yeah,
at first I thought it was like, oh, like you're able to see your memories, but then like we see that like America Chavez sees his, and then whenever America stands on it, Strange can see hers. I'm like, oh, I don't like that. What if you think of like a very dark memory or like a very like dirty memory?
I was gonna
Now
say, what
everyone
if
can
what if you
see it.
just happen to be thinking about like your first special time with a lady?
Yeah.
And it's
And
like,
now
oh,
like everyone can see it. And guess what? I'm going to jail because I showed this. I didn't intentionally do it, but there's a child walking by and he saw it. So now I'm getting arrested.
I would feel like those sorts of machines would have filters on them though. Like, oh, we can't show that memory because it's dirty. But yeah, I
but
agree
we
with
can't
that. For me, I see. I had an issue with it for a
moms
couple
not dying, but we
reasons.
can show that we well what I was saying is like so if you have that limit, it's like okay, so the line is it's okay to show two moms like not die, but essentially kind of die.
We'll get thrust into an alternate universe. That's not
They
dying.
do. It's not dying, but it is very much like she sees them as dead. Like she wants to get to them, but I'm saying like it feels like perilous because she can't control her powers at that point, and she's like, oh, they're as good as dead by this point.
Eh.
Like
They didn't die in the memory
so
though.
they didn't. But so the line is, it's okay to see like emotional trauma. It's okay for everyone to see emotional trauma.
Yeah.
So even little 3-year-old walking by, they're like, "Oh, that's so sweet, family," and then gets sucked in, like, "Oh my gosh, what happened to my parents?"
Oh my god. No, yeah, no. I get that. For me, my issues with the machine are like little storytelling nitpicks for the most part. The machine mentions now showing you your memories for like a reasonable price. How did it charge them? It had to have charged them to show them their memories like
Yeah.
that. Like it didn't say anything about getting a free sample. And how so if it charged them, how did they pay for it? America thought the food was free.
Oh, maybe it's like that Justin Timberlake movie where you pay everything with part of your lifespan. Like in that movie, he gets a cup of coffee and it takes like 5 seconds off his lifespan. You see your lifespan, like the number on your wrist, and you pay with it. So maybe that's what it is for them. They're paying with their lifespan.
Second thing, that's not a very this is gonna sound like a this is a kind of a nitpick, yeah. And I know they had to communicate this stuff somehow. That's not a very organic way to communicate backstory.
No. Yeah,
It would have
it's
been
like,
better to contextualize it as America telling someone that story and then showing us the flashback.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, not true like exposition dump of her, but like, yeah, gradually, like maybe giving hints of that past, and then eventually she just tells what happens and you get that flashback. Yeah, I think that's better than the whole memory machine thing explaining all that.
Who
The
invented
memory
that
machine
machine?
thing, who
Why are they
didn't?
selling it? What purpose does it really serve?
Did the
These are these
Illuminati?
are these are questions I need answered.
Yeah, did the Illuminati implement that machine?
These are questions that aren't important to the story of the film, but I asked them, so that means that I need to put a sin on the sin counter. Ding.
If I have to ask anything about the movie, it gets a sin.
It gets a sin. Yes. 45 seconds of logos. Ding. God, I don't know if I've talked about. I hate cinema sins so much.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Let's see what else. Oh, this is kind of like my last thing I really liked. I really liked Pizza Papa.
Yeah.
I
It's
really
over.
like. Yeah. I like the end credit scene, but I was also thinking like, yes, it's like this silly, goofy thing, but like that's kind of like a villainous thing to do. Strange, like have him punch himself for 2 to 3 weeks. Like, yes, it is comedic and all that, but like he didn't do that much to you to warrant that.
Eh.
Like
Different
he
universe. He
committed.
doesn't have to care. Someone else's universe.
Yeah. Ultimately, it seems like that. It's like, it's not, because that's the thing. Yeah. He wouldn't do that in his world. That is so true. I know that's a joke, but that's so true. He would not do that in 616 because he's trying to
Yeah.
keep up public image and all that stuff. It's like,
It doesn't matter here.
I'm never gonna see these people again.
As far
Slaughter
as
them all.
yeah. I don't care about this universe's Doctor Strange's image. He was just lucky that that universe's Doctor Strange was already dead. Otherwise,
Yeah,
that would have been another guy he'd have to deal with.
like, yeah, Pizza Papa was like kind of mean, but I didn't warrant that. I kind of
Well,
felt bad for the guy.
Pizza Papa was kind of mean, but I don't think he was unjustified. I mean, Strange could simply have explained. Well, I don't know how he could have explained this. He could have found a way to explain that, like, America didn't understand that you need to pay for it. Oh, here you go.
Yeah.
Just have her start speaking Spanish and say, "Oh, she doesn't understand. She's from a different country."
Yeah. Oh,
That's how you
this was
bring that
whenever
back in.
this was whenever the Ethernet, like my Wi-Fi went out. We were talking about that. I do want to mention, ultimately, the reason they did that was executives. I don't think it was a writing thing. I think they forced writers to do this. Executives were like, "Hey, we have to make it very clear. She's a Hispanic superhero. She needs
Yeah.
to speak Spanish at least at the very beginning.
The
Okay,
last
do
name
it."
being Chavez isn't enough.
Yeah, that's not a good enough giveaway.
And
So
also the fact that you look at this girl and see a very clearly Hispanic young woman.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, that ultimately was just executives being like, we need to make sure they understand. We love everyone, even though we're corporate executives. And like, yes,
Yeah.
the writers and creatives actually do care about this and have stances on this, but we just care about the money.
Yeah.
And
We love everyone's money.
exactly, yeah, like that felt so
Yeah.
corporate executive decision, that little tiny bit.
Yeah. I finally figured out also how to pronounce the actress's name. I've never known how to pronounce her name.
What is
For
it?
America. Okay, so I don't know if this is correct. I heard someone else say it this way. I think it's pronounced Xochi.
Okay.
The T and the L are silent.
Oh, okay, I'm looking at her name now. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I might have that wrong.
It's a lot closer than I could get. So
Yeah.
congrats. Um, but yeah, like justice for Pizza Papa.
Yeah, Justice for Pizza Papa. Come on. I mean, I don't know, it stopped eventually.
Like 2 to 3 weeks later,
Yeah, after the credits. How long are the credits?
which
Like
was,
10 minutes?
I mean, yeah, movie length wise, but in universe, that was like 2 to 3 weeks of nonstop. Like, imagine you're sleeping
Eh.
and your hand is like, ultimately the whole thing for that is kind of like a callback slash like reference to Evil Dead with Ash's
There
hand
you are.
becoming possessed. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I lost you right when you said ultimately the whole.
Oh, okay. I was saying ultimately that whole hand thing is like a reference slash callback to the Evil Dead with
Yeah, yeah,
Ash's
it's
hand,
yeah.
yeah, getting possessed and trying to kill him. It's a reference to that. That's very fun. But in
Yeah.
universe, Strange is a jerk because Papa
Yeah.
Pizza's just trying to get some sleep one night or every night for 2 to 3 weeks, and he's just punching himself in the face the entire time.
Yeah. All right. Last thing. And this one I think is kind of relevant to us personally, considering how much we've tied this character into our own version of Doctor Strange and his story.
Yeah,
What do you think of Charlize Theron as Clea?
I
I
think that's
mean,
a pretty good choice.
I was gonna say she had like two lines, so we still have like things to see from her, but like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Like it's cool to see that she's going to be in the MCU because I like a lot of her movies. I think she's a really good actress.
she was good in Fury Road. I haven't seen a lot of Charlize Theron movies.
She's good in Fury Road. She's good in I've seen like at least 2 or 3 other movies. Oh, she plays a serial killer in a movie called Monster. It's based on like
Hmm.
an actual female serial killer. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Um, I've seen some other stuff. She's pretty good.
Okay.
She plays
Yeah.
the lady in Hancock, the Will Smith
Right. Right.
superhero
Yes.
movie.
Okay. Yeah. I remember that now. I did see that one.
Yeah,
Um. Yeah. Because at this point, when it comes to like casting for Marvel characters, I'm like, yeah, I may as well. Every time
yeah,
someone
yeah,
pops up, like, yeah, sure, why not? Because it's like all of the actors have been cast, like every single one of them. Every actor is in a Marvel movie,
yeah.
and so it's like it's hard to properly like fan cast characters now because it's like who's left, unknown
Yeah.
people or people you don't expect.
Well, it's one of those things where, like, unless you're like a Daniel Day-Lewis who like actively picks and chooses his roles, and he doesn't want to be in a big movie.
Yeah,
He's all about doing the semi-indie thing that will stretch his talent.
Oscar
What
bait.
can give me a challenge? Yeah, yeah. Oscar bait. What can give me a challenge? Basically, unless you're someone like Daniel Day-Lewis, you're trying to get your agent to get you in a Marvel movie
Yeah,
because like this thing isn't going anywhere, and
yeah,
as well as it's making a ton of money, so I can also make a ton of money
yeah,
potentially.
yeah. If I can just get one of those 10-year contracts for 7 movies.
Like if I can just be in like 2 maybe 3 movies, I could
Yeah,
probably just live off of royalties after that.
yeah. That I have read about like Marvel contracts right now is so apparently Elizabeth Olsen only signed on for 2 movies in her initial contract, and every appearance she's made after that has been an extension on the contract that she's signed. So it's actually like kind of up to her whether or not Scarlet Witch is in these movies now.
Oh, okay.
It all
Huh.
depends on whether or not she wants to come back at this point.
Yeah.
So like if a writer is writing Scarlet Witch into a script, I think yeah, it does ultimately come back around to Elizabeth Olsen to sign a contract for it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's not like all the initial contracts where it's like, yeah, you're signed on for like 15 movies.
Yeah, yeah. You have like a minor role and they have you locked in for like over 10 movies. It's like, oh
Oh yeah, you
no.
you have a minor role in this one, but in 12 years you're going to
You'll
be
be
the
a
main
sidekick.
character. In 12 years you're going to be the main character. We're going to need you to get in shape by then and stay in shape. Here's a bunch of raw chicken and steroids. Have fun.
Yeah. But overall, good movie.
Yeah. Oh, also, okay, this is the very last thing I want to ask
Yeah.
about this movie before we move on to talking about the Gallows Man for a bit.
Yeah.
Do you think John Krasinski is the MCU's Mr. Fantastic now?
I think so. I mean, obviously it's not this universe we saw,
Yeah, obviously.
but yeah, I do think this was like kind of a little like,
A trial run.
ooh, yeah, little trial run, little tease.
Yeah. Since all the fans kind of just arbitrarily decided he should be Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, yeah. Honestly, at this point, it makes sense. Just like because, and the reason it makes sense now is because like he's been in one, may as well keep running with it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like it fits. People liked it. I heard the
Yeah,
and the oohs.
yeah.
And
And
even
you know
before
what?
that, like you said, with all the fan art for the past few years, like yeah, people want him.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't think he would be a bad or even middling Mr. Fantastic. I actually think he can do a really good job with Reed Richards as a character.
Yeah, I think he'll be
Um,
good.
it's just I never understood why everyone just kind of picked him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was
I
ultimately
think he'll do good. Just don't know why.
I think ultimately the reason everyone picked him before even seeing him in this movie, all the fan art was like as he got older and as he got like the beard and stuff, people were like,
Yeah.
"Oh, he's like looking a lot like Reed Richards," because there's some comics, some artists draw Reed where it looks very similar to
Well,
bearded John Krasinski.
I was gonna say those most recent ones. That's on purpose.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That artist is specifically fan casting John Krasinski as Reed Richards, like on
Yeah,
their own.
yeah, he's manifesting it.
But yeah, because Mr. Fantastic has had the beard for a few years in the comics now. Like ever since the
Yeah, yeah,
Fantastic Four came back with a fresh start, he's had that beard.
yeah. Yeah, they just
So yeah.
recent artists just slightly tweak it. They're like, hey,
Hey,
Jim
From The
from The
Office.
Office.
Maybe we could have Mr. Fantastic look at the camera with oh boy sort of face.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
With
You,
a
you
here
have
we
him.
go again look on his face.
You have him doing all these pranks on Dwight, such as like stretching all the way across the office and like tapping his shoulder and then stretching back, and Dwight being like, "Who was that? Who did that?"
Getting Agent Wu to pretend to be him for a day.
Yeah, yeah. You can have
And you see, that's another joke that's been spreading through the community. People are like, "Why is everybody fan casting John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic? He's already Jimmy Woo."
you can also have this is earlier seasons Pam. You can have her like turn invisible whenever she feels like anxious or like publicly scared or anything. Like it's kind of like an instinct or reflex that happens.
Yeah, yeah. Early seasons Pam, very invisible girl. Later seasons Pam, invisible woman.
Yes, yes.
But yeah, no, and I think it's probably because they're married in real life. But like a lot of people are saying Emily Blunt should be the Invisible Woman.
She'd work. I'd say like
I think she could do it.
Yeah, I'd say at least consider, at least like if she wants to do it, audition her for the role.
Yeah,
Because I think like ultimately the chemistry is already there because they're married. So
Yeah.
it'll feel so real.
yeah. Plus, they've shown that chemistry off in A Quiet Place as well.
Yeah, yeah. It does very well.
Yeah, and I think like for the character, she's a good choice. I think she could rock Susan Storm.
Yeah. Yeah, and you get going on with the office thing, you have Kevin Malone as the Thing.
Oh God.
He's like, it's chili time. Spills the chili. Oh no.
Why say a lot word when few word do trick?
I'm a rock man.
I'm in a police cover band. I play the drums with my rock fists.
Do you guys want to see what my poops look like? It's pretty wild.
Okay, I think that's our cue to move on. So yeah, Doctor Strange in The Mom. Did it blow you away, or was it so underwhelming that your heart imploded?
Wasn't underwhelming. Didn't blow me away. I did think it was a good Marvel movie.
Yeah.
With Phase 4, it's right in the middle for me.
Yeah, for me, it's on the top of Phase 4, and it just about met my expectations.
Nice.
Didn't exceed them, but honestly, that's not what I'm looking for with Marvel movies anymore. I'm looking for expectations to be met. If they're exceeded, great, all the better. If they aren't met, whatever. I'm not gonna, make an hour and a half long video essay about why it's the worst movie I ever wasted my time on.
Yeah.
All right. So next, I honestly don't know what I had in mind for this segment other than because I don't have any questions prepared. I probably should have thought of some.
Yeah. No.
I just wanted to talk about the Gallows Man #2 and like the Kickstarter and stuff. So
Yeah.
Since it's yours, I think you should take it away.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's been interesting. Like we started the second week on the Kickstarter yesterday of the campaign being live. Like if you've listened to the podcast before, I've been talking about the campaign for 2 or 3 months because you have to build up to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, second week of it being live, it's doing like I'll be honest, the first 3 or 4 days, about day 4 of week 1, I was like, oh man, I was kind of expecting this to do a little bit better. Like it was doing good, but I was like, I kind of expected a little more out of this. And then like
Yeah.
by like day 5, and for like a few day period, it just was like spiking because like it was at like 300 something, like low 300s by like day 3 or 4. I was like,
Yeah.
this is good. We'll at least meet our initial goal eventually, and I'll get it printed. But at that point, I was like, it'll likely be towards the end of the campaign when we'll hit that 500. Like we'll hit it, but usually the most activity you see in a Kickstarter is the first like 48 or 72 hours, and then the last 48 or 72 hours.
Yeah.
There's that usually like at least 3-week period where not much action happens. But it was interesting to see towards the end of week 1, like basically that number double. And I was like, I did not expect that, because I haven't really seen or heard this happening with the average Kickstarter. I definitely didn't see this happening with my last Kickstarter. It was like a big jump, a big amount those first 2 or 3 days with the first Kickstarter last year.
Yeah.
But then you didn't see too much until like the last few days of it. So it'll be interesting to see. I think what has helped is how busy I've been with trying to get on people's shows and stuff. I did that last year, but at that point I didn't really have any connection. I didn't really know anyone at that point.
Yeah.
So
Now,
I
now you
wound
now
up.
you got them connections.
Well, I've got more
You've been
connections than I
doing the
had.
networking.
Yeah. Like I don't have amazing pool, but I have like more connections than I had last year. To where last year I did like maybe 5 to 6 different shows. Like that's likely what it was. But this year, like I've done, tonight will be like the 12th show maybe, and then I still have at least 5 more lined up, and I'm trying to get a few others lined up by the end of the campaign. So a lot more effort in that put in, but I think that has helped when it comes to money actually coming in on the Kickstarter, like in the what is usually the dead period of the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
I think that has really helped. It's definitely taught me something. It's taught me a good bit with these Kickstarters. And also a lot of these guys that I go on their show, like a quarter of them have done Kickstarters or they make indie comics. So I get pretty good advice and tips from them. Like I was on a show last night. This guy Russ Explode, like I messaged him like a week ago. He put me on a show this past Saturday, and then he put me on a show last night. And like we had a great conversation, just like shooting the breeze, talking Gallows Man and other stuff. And then when we were done, we spent like 30 minutes to an hour of him just giving me like really good tips and advice that like right after that I implemented. Like I did pretty much everything he had mentioned. Like I almost wanted to like take notes, but I would have been like looking down at my phone. I didn't want him to think like I was just like ignoring him. So I was just trying to like remember all the stuff he said, and yeah, I implemented that, and like it seems like it's been pretty good.
Yeah, because I noticed that you hit the initial goal like pretty quick this year. Like
Yeah.
I had to wait to back it because it started on like an off week for like my paychecks, because I get paid like
Yeah.
every other week. So like, and by the time I actually was able to back it, it had already met its goal.
Yeah, which you weren't the only one that had that. I had like a few people message me say like I can't back it now, but as soon as Friday's paycheck happens, I'm there. And that's what they did. So yeah, like I think that also played into
That spike towards the end
that spike towards the end. Yeah.
of
Yeah,
all
but
the all the people just like, oh, payday's coming.
yeah,
Payday's coming, and I got a comic book to get.
let me blow a little bit on this guy's comic. No, I'm
Yeah.
so thankful to everyone
I
that has
don't consider
backed
it
us.
blowing on this comic. Like
No.
I'm
I'm just
actually like genuinely interested to see where this is going.
I'm just joking around. I am thankful to everyone that has backed this and that has that interest and wants to see further with the story. But yeah, I was surprised how quick. I mean, I was surprised like after that little spell that I had where it was at 300, I was like, it's not gonna hit it till the end of the campaign. It'll hit it, but not till the end. But I definitely was surprised when we hit it by like within the 4th day or whatever, because I was thinking about that first Kickstarter. That first Kickstarter, I put the initial goal at 250, and we hit that like within a day. But it's 250, so it's pretty
Yeah,
low. And so this
it's an
one I
easy goal
bumped
to
it
hit.
up. Yeah, I bumped it up a little bit to 500, an achievable goal. I knew I would definitely hit 500 within the campaign. I didn't know exactly when. I ultimately wanted it to be within the first week, and I'm glad it was within the first week. But yeah, it was one of those things where like when it happened and when it kept climbing after that, like I was expecting it hits 500, and then as we get towards the end of the campaign, that's when it'll start climbing towards that 750. But no, it's like I think right now at like 697.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like my overall, I set the campaign goal low like this compared to other Kickstarters, I should say. Compared to
Yeah.
other Kickstarters, I set my goal low. Most of the other ones are 1,000 or more. I set
Yeah.
them low so that the people that are actually interested in this book, like I
Get it.
can fulfill it. Yeah. I can get it to you. Like at the end of the day, I'm not trying to make a profit on this or anything. Not there is no profit being made on this. Like
Yeah.
like it ultimately is like I enjoy doing this, and like if and since there are people that are interested in this, like yeah, I want to make it available. And so if I set it at like 1,000, or if I set it higher than that, it's like, not saying it wouldn't, but let's say it doesn't meet that goal. It's like, like all those people that backed it, like they don't get charged. So it's not that big of a thing, but it's like
Yeah.
they were willing to pay so they could get the book, but now they can't get the book.
Yeah. Like all those people who were excited for it, but
Yeah,
because not
exactly.
enough were excited for it, now it's just not happening.
Exactly. Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like, I don't care the number, big or small, that back the book. If there's people backing the book, if they're interested in it, whether it's 1, 5, 10, or 100 people, I want to be able to get that book to them. And so that's why I set my Kickstarters low. Like there's no profit involved with it, and I'm okay with that. At the end of the day, I just want people to see what I've made. That's what any starting up creative wants, is you just want, you no longer want to have to like push stuff in your friend's face or push stuff in your parents' face and
Yeah.
be like, read it or check it out,
Yeah.
please.
All
Validation or whatever.
Yeah, all you really want to know is that people enjoy your work and that you make work that people like.
Yeah. That's ultimately what it is. And again, it's not a quantity thing. If there's a few people that enjoy my work, I'll keep doing my work. Like that's ultimately what it is. Now, that's not to say I'm bashing like oh, I don't want quantity. I'd love to have like
Oh
the
yeah.
the following grow with stuff like the Gallows Man and Dismay comics. But that's not like the ultimate driving factor.
Yeah. You're doing it for the passion. It's about the music right now. You haven't sold out yet.
Yeah. yeah, I'm gonna sell out whenever some big publisher uh, buys me out and is like, "Hey, we'll give you this amount of money if you write this Gallows Man story, but you have to implement all these things that we have listed here." And I'm
Yeah,
like, I'm not going to implement that. And then they show me that big check. I'm like, okay, I'm going to implement that.
yeah, yeah. It's like, no, I can't do that. I'm against that thing you told me to put in here. But what if we have you do this? Okay. All right. Like, what if we give you this much money? All right. Okay. I'll do it.
I guess I'll be your little writer boy.
Yeah, I can compromise my morals for a few more dollars.
Yeah, but no, that's all joking aside. I just want to get the story out, the story that's in
Yeah.
my head. That's with any creative. You want to get that story out and just have it. Like people enjoy it, but also so you can like look at it and be like, whoa, I did this. Like it's an achievement that uh, I can say I did.
Yeah.
Whether people see it as good or bad, or whether it's profitable or not, you're like, I thought about doing this, and I actually pulled the trigger and actually did do it, instead of like in my head early on being like, I don't know if I can or not.
You may get made real self-conscious here about
Oh no,
my own
sorry. No,
writing.
I was
No, no,
thinking
I know,
back
I
to
know.
a few
It's
years ago
I'm
for me.
joking.
Okay, yeah.
I'm just messing with you. I mean, I do need to get off my butt and actually put some work in, and actually try harder. I've been so lazy about my writing for so long.
That's the thing, is I need to get into a routine when it comes to writing. Like, yes, I have the Gallows Man Kickstarter right now, and busy with the Kickstarter and all that. But like it was like 2 or 3 months ago when I was talking about how I wrote that 2-page Newsboy story, and then I wrote that first issue of that one comic I want to do. I haven't
Yeah,
written anything since, and like I kind of hate that I just like dropped the ball on that momentum. I want to get back into it, but I just need
yeah,
to push myself, or like if there's some thing I'm doing that is like at the end of the day for me kind of wasting my time, I need to like try to fix it or minimize that, so I like just sit my butt down and try to write. I guess I need more discipline when it
yeah.
comes to writing.
One thing that I think I need to start implementing for myself is a reward system, where if I sit down and write for like a certain amount of time, on a scheduled day, I will let myself have this thing that I want.
Yeah, yeah. Like with me, whenever I mean, this happened in college. This happens with me with anything, but ultimately it plays into writing as well. When I've done something that like has taken a long time, or has taken a lot of effort or whatever, such as writing a first issue, or writing a few pages of something, or like finishing an assignment in college or whatever, doing that hard work, or long work, or however you want to put it, and then taking a break or being done and being like, now I get to watch this show, or now I get to play this game, or whatever it may be, where it
Now I
is
get
that
to go
reward
take that
system.
good long hard poop I've been holding in for the
Yeah.
past 3.5 hours.
Been holding this in for 3 days.
I've
I
been holding
finally
this in
finished.
for I've been holding this in for 2 hours and 18 minutes and 52 seconds, 53 seconds, 54 seconds, 55 seconds.
It is solidifying within my intestine. I should
It
probably
is
release
petrified now. It is a petrified poopy.
But I've noticed, like, I mean, it's essentially this is the kind of the comparison a little bit. Like, for it to be understandable is like it's like the person that does like the 9 to 5 physical labor job or something like that, and they get home after a long day's work and they sit down, watch TV with family or whatever, and they're drinking a cold one. Like that's kind of the equivalent. Not saying they're equal, but I'm saying for it to be understandable, it's kind of that thing of like you do this thing that you had to kind of make yourself do that can take time, that can take a lot out of you, but then it's that end of the day thing or that end of the project thing, and you get to sit down and get that little reward.
Yeah.
I just have to force myself to do that more, though.
Yeah. I see. For me, my a huge issue for me is a lack of focus. I have so many ideas in my head. I can't pick one to just sit down and write.
Yeah. Well, what's helped for me, and like not saying like, oh, this helps for everyone, but like I mean, it can get the gears turning for people if they're having that lack of focus, because I have it a lot. But like having a notebook, notepad, whatever it is, of like all those ideas, and then like one day just finally sitting down, because this is how that first issue of that comic I wrote a couple months ago, this is how I actually wrote the first issue. I sat down, scrolled through all the ideas I had, and the thing that stuck out to me as I was scrolling was that idea, that outline that I had for that comic. And I was like, okay, I guess I will write that since that is sticking out to me. And like then had that first issue written. I just need to do that more. I'm currently with the Kickstarter. I am busy, but like after that, I need to just force myself and have that discipline of like making time for it. And that sounds kind of sucky, and I got to be careful with that, because if you do that for something that is a hobby or something that you love to do, if you start regulating that or having those strict guidelines of when to do it, when to sit down and stuff, if you're not careful, you can get burnt out on it, or you can slightly grow to detest it a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't feel as freeing anymore. So there does have to be that balance.
Yeah. Yeah, almost like the podcast. It's like we do try to do it every week, but because it is just a hobby for us and it's meant to be just like a weekly creative outlet, if it gets in the way of regular life, we'll just not record for a week.
Yeah.
And it helps keep the podcast like to be a relaxing thing. It doesn't feel like an obligation when we're doing it, or at least I hope it doesn't feel like an obligation for you.
No, that's the thing, is like we're so free flowing when it comes to either like coming up with pitches or doing discussions or whatever, to where it doesn't feel super regulated or anything. It doesn't feel like a burden or like a job or whatever. Like it does feel like a part of that week where it's like, like I get to chill for this part of my week. And that's where I need to get at with writing.
I get to sit down and just talk about comic books for a couple of hours with probably the one guy I know who knows as much about them as I do.
Yeah. Like I can talk like some of the MCU stuff with other people, but that's about the extent.
Yeah, like you are genuinely, because like I got friends who know things here and there about comics, but you are genuinely like the only person I have regular contact with who like is as into comic books as I am.
Yeah, like you're the only person that I can message and be like, Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrentino, they have this shared horror universe that's coming out. Like,
and then have like that enthusiasm returned.
Yeah.
Rather than being responded with by like a who?
That's the thing, yeah, because like even if I'm in like some comic chats on Instagram or whatever, like no one has that same amount of enthusiasm or anything, because ultimately they're like they like comics, but a lot of times it's just like collecting comics and like slabbing comics and stuff.
Yeah.
Like and they're just not as like passionate or caring about like these specific writers, or I should say this, because we both are writers and we like look at writing, not trying to like put us on a pedestal or anything like that, but we look at it a little bit
I am.
deeper.
I'll sit on the pedestal.
Well, what I'm trying to say is we look at it a little bit deeper, at least story and everything, a little bit deeper than the average reader.
Yeah. A little bit
To
deeper than the average bear.
To where whenever like we're able to, like with Jeff Lemire, him being one of our favorite writers, like in comics and just in general, we're able to see like
His
kind
patterns.
of his patterns. Yeah. We get a feel, because
Yeah.
we enjoy Jeff Lemire and we've read a lot of his stuff. We get a feel of who Jeff Lemire is, or at least his thinking. We at least know the dude cares about family, and family is very important with him.
He's like a real world Dom Toretto.
Yeah. Yeah. Whereas like someone else will just enjoy the story, and then like later on they look back and it's like, oh, that was the same writer as that. Oh, I didn't notice that or whatever. Whereas we're like tracking and following this specific writer.
Yeah, we're keeping track of like the common themes that he uses in his work.
Yeah. Not to say there aren't people out there that do that, because I do know there's a lot of Jeff Lemire fans. You can go on Reddit and see that. But
definitely.
The average reader, and not just with Jeff Lemire, but just other writers in general, don't have that thinking or that consensus.
Yeah.
Or don't have like a top 5 modern day comic writers.
Yeah. Oh goodness, what's our top 10 gonna be for next year?
I think we said
top 10 letterers.
We oh my gosh, yeah. That would be interesting, but yeah.
Unfortunately, I know it's hard work, but I don't pay enough attention to lettering to have favorites.
I think I pay attention to it more when it comes to indie comics. Like since I've made my own indie comic, and like I'm not like bashing other indie comics, but when I get a Kickstarter comic, because, and not saying we're on the same playing field, like this person could have made a lot more comics than me, or this could be their first comic, but we're both in that indie comic realm to where I do compare it a little bit, because I have been where they are. I've been in that creative set of making the comic. So when I'm reading the
look
comic,
at these peasants.
Well, when I'm reading the comic, I'll either like applaud like the lettering or this art direction or this writing direction, because I'm like, oh, like that's really good. I didn't think about that, or I thought about that, and then you did it. That's awesome. And it can be the opposite, to where like I see poor lettering, or the thing that I've noticed a lot recently. Because I mean, like the Gallows Man can probably have some grammar or spelling errors or whatever within it, but I read through that a lot to eliminate as many as I can. And the thing I've like editing, like when you're editing your comic, you need to read it a bunch, to the point where by the 5th or 6th time you wrote the story, and now you've read the comic at least 6 or 7 times, this one issue, to where you're like, I'm kind of sick of this because you've read it so much, because you're now critiquing it and trying to find all this stuff. You're just ready to move on.
Garbage again.
Well, you're just ready to move on to the next issue, kind of see something new, basically. But having had to go through it so many times and edit little things, whenever I go to an indie comic, or even some of the mainstream comics, and I see those little errors and stuff, whether it's a spelling error or like a grammatical error, or sometimes just like off lettering. Like I'm like, like, no offense, but this is my first time reading this, and I picked that out. Like, I'm not saying I should be your editor, but I could have helped with that.
But also, you could pay me to be your editor.
Yeah, you could pay me to be your editor. but it's one of those things where, like, ultimately, I still see myself as a novice, as an amateur. So whenever I notice those things, I'm like, do a little bit better, try a little bit better, because you
step up,
this
get
stuff.
Good.
Well, I say that because ultimately I'm not great at this. So if someone who's not good at this, who is an amateur, who is a novice, if they see this stuff, then it's like, yeah, maybe step it up a little bit.
Yeah. I don't know. I can say I have read your published work now. I think you're pretty good at it.
But I mean, like, I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for like all the feedback and stuff people give me, both positive and negative. There's very little negative. I'm open to negative feedback. As long as it's not like, this sucks. If you tell me it sucks, give me the reasons why.
Yeah, you got to be constructive about it. You can't just say it sucks and leave it at that.
I like constructive criticism. It makes me better as a writer, as well as if it's like, if I look at it and maybe I see your comments, I'm like, that actually makes perfect sense. I see where you're coming from. But there also might be some comments where it's like, you kind of missed the boat on that. That's not what I was going for there.
Yeah.
But I forgot where I was going with that.
Oh yeah.
I still see myself as like this beginner, this novice when it comes to comic making. And since I've made my own comic, I pay attention to stuff a little bit more because of how, like, kind of excruciating last edits are, because I am reading it so much and all that, to where, like, when I see those little things, I'm like, come on. Like if it's little stuff, if it's only like a couple spelling or grammar stuff within a few pages, that's not a big deal. But if I'm seeing it on every page, I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's to not bash anyone in particular at all, but it's just like, I don't know. Let's all try our best. Like I'm sure, I know there are people that have put way more hours in studying and like working on this craft. Like I've put a ton of hours before even like making comics, tons of hours, dozens, if not 100 or so hours in learning about this stuff.
Yeah.
So that I can be at least a little bit good as a starting out person. Like you can look at it and be like, oh wow, like first comic, wow, that's not bad.
Yeah, and honestly, with what you have put out, I genuinely do think that, like, in the landscape of like the wider comic community, if you can just like get your stuff, like, I think a little wider spread, you're like I think the only issue right now is like distribution. You know what I mean? Like the number of people who know, because I think based on what you've put out so far, you're like one to watch. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
I could see your work being published professionally.
Well, thank you. I'd like to do
that. within a decade.
Yeah, I'd like to eventually have some sort of book doing that. But like, I forgot what I was about to say. Oh, like, that's something to mention is, like, I mentioned the idea of like people clearly not like going through their comic enough to do those edits. So maybe you need to hire an editor to help with that. For me, because my big struggle is like PR and marketing and stuff. I suck with that. I also don't like it. Like, I love going on the shows and stuff. I love being on people's shows and talking comics or whatever it is. I love doing that stuff, but I'm awful at setting all this up. So that's also a little thing for me. Maybe I would do better with outsourcing for marketing or whatever. Not saying I'm going to do that, but I'm just saying, for my own critique, if I'm critiquing someone on their comic and being like, maybe consider getting an editor, for me, maybe consider getting an outsource for marketing.
Yeah. Yeah, because your social media pages are clearly doing some work, because you're getting, like, your stuff is being successfully backed to like the standard that you have set for yourself at the very least.
Yeah.
So like your social media presence for your current goals and level of ambition are definitely doing the trick. But I think that, like, in terms of like overall presence in like the comic book community, I think that Dismay Comics in general does have like space to grow in that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because
Based on what I've seen.
That's the thing is, I do want it, like I mentioned, I'm thankful for every person, but that doesn't mean I don't want to see it expand. Like, I don't want to, like, I do want to see like growth with like the community that comes in and reads these titles and stuff. Like, it's not like I want it to be at a standstill or anything. I want as many people to check it out and either dig it or hate it. All I want is for people to check it out.
Yeah.
But forgot where I was going with that. Yeah, maybe it'll come to me in a little bit.
Yeah. One thing I've been considering lately is making some actual social media profiles for the podcast. Because that's something that the podcast is lacking, and I think the reason that, and I say it at the end of every episode, I am thankful for our the listeners we do have, but it's been in the single digits for like more than 2 years now in terms of like listener numbers. So it's like, I think it's time to like maybe try getting on social media, putting the podcast out there a bit. We have an enormous backlog at this point. So,
well, it's one of those things, and this isn't like being arrogant or anything like that, but it's one of those things where, like, you look at some of the stuff we've done or some of the stuff we've like created or pitched or some of the content we have, and you compare it with some other stuff, and you see the numbers they're pulling and you see the numbers we're pulling. And this isn't arrogance. It's just like the amount of effort, at least, we put with how creative some of the pitches and stuff are. It's like, I don't know. I feel like this is a little bit better than that right there.
Yeah.
But it's, and again, I'm not trying to like toot Gallows Man horn or anything like that. I mean, same can be said with the Gallows Man, at least for me. Again, I'm not trying to be arrogant, but I have noticed it ultimately comes down to people believing in different projects and stuff. But I have noticed like some Kickstarters in the past, and what I'm saying by the past is many years ago. So if anyone's listening, they're trying to scrub me off of the indie comics list, it's no one you have seen me on a show with. It's people, it's comics I've seen in the past. Comics I've seen in the past that ultimately doesn't look bad. But I would never expect it to have gotten $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 on the Kickstarter, and yet it did.
Yeah.
And to where I compare the two. Again, I'm not trying to be arrogant. I'm just trying to like look at it as objectively as I can, even though I am a creator of one of these. I compare something like the Gallows Man or the work done in Dismay Avenue, and then I compare it with that, and I'm like, I kind of think, at least art-wise, I can't speak on the story. That's up to people's interpretation because I'm the writer. But I can say at least art wise, these artists, this art looks better than that.
Yeah, I will say, based on all the stuff that like you've shown me and what I see in like advertisements for the Gallows Man and all that, like you have an incredible like group of artists that you like associate with for these comics.
Yeah, I mean,
Like
like all of these guys
every
are
artist
hidden
whose work you've
gems.
shown me has been fantastic.
Like all of them are hidden gems, and I hope to see all of them within like the truly professional landscape. Like a lot of them, they're
Yeah.
professional artists, but I want to see them get that mainstream stuff that they deserve. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to see all of the artists you've worked with so far get like that mainstream attention.
yeah, because ultimately is like they have mainstream level quality of art, but they're just like hidden. They're
Yeah.
hidden gems. They're Adam Sandlers. They're a bunch of hidden gems.
Honestly, the artist who did our little our thumbnail, our banner for these YouTube
Yeah,
videos,
yeah.
they're awesome too. What was their name? Do you remember their name? It's been so I meant to shout them
Uh,
out forever ago and then I forgot.
Let me go to Fiverr real quick. It'll take me less than 20 seconds.
Alrighty.
Let me see. Because yeah, I always forget like the profile names and stuff of people I've worked with on Fiverr. I need to get better at that. At least like when it comes to an interview or whatever on another show, just being like, hey, give me 15 seconds. Let me look up their name because I really do want
Yeah.
to shout them out. I just forget their name.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me see. Uh, Neko or Nico Chin is her
It's
profile name.
it's probably Neko Chin.
Yeah, it's Neko and then Chin.
Alright, you cut out for a second there.
Oh crap. Yeah, YouTube's like, no shout outs. Okay, Neko or Nico Chin, it's Nekochin.
Yeah. Yeah, anyone out there who's he said they're on Fiverr?
Yeah, Fiverr.
Yeah, anyone out there who's interested in commissioning like the type of artwork you see in our thumbnail, check them out. They're
And
I really like this thumbnail.
and when it comes to people on Fiverr, um, I don't feel afraid or anything like mentioning their cost because when it comes to working with artists like on a comic, I don't want to pigeonhole them to that. If someone
Yeah,
like comes and works for them and they're like, well, how much will this cost? And then they give them a number and then they're like, well, that's not what Brandon said. Brandon said it would be a little less than that. It was like, no, there as you not saying like as you get better at art, not saying that, but
yeah,
as you're progressing with it and as your career is progressing, you can expect their page rate or their pay
yeah,
rate to increase. That's just how it
yeah.
works.
Because the longer they're in it and the more their work improves over time. Because art is one of those things that just naturally improves the more you do it. So like as
Exactly.
their work improves over time and their demand increases, of course their price is going to go up. That's natural.
Yeah, but I want to say with the Fiverr thing, I can tell you the price because that is the price they have set. So it's not pigeonholing them or anything. This is the
Yeah,
price they have set to the public. Um, yeah, Neko or Nico Chin, I paid $25 for that thumbnail, plus like some additional Fiverr fees. In total, it was $28.38. But I mean, it's a really good thumbnail.
yeah.
And
I
like,
wish I wish I had been able to find it in my pictures in time to do today's episode so I could have my character's face up here. Unfortunately, I had to rickroll everybody. Don't
I
ask
also,
why I have pictures of Rick Astley in my phone.
I do also want to mention like, what people like, oh, you find artists on Fiverr. Like, what about other talent? The voiceover guy that I got to do both trailers, got him through Fiverr, found him through Fiverr. Uh,
What's his name? Give him a shout out then.
Mr. Corley. It's all lowercase. It's MisterCorley. I just looked it up. For both trailers, it was basically the same cost as that thumbnail. I paid him $25. $25 for like that amount of voiceover work. And that's the thing. He doesn't just send over that file. He sends over files like without the music, with different variations. Like he'll send over like 4 different files of like, hey, whichever one you like more or whatever. I mean, like, yeah, like for 2 minutes of trailer voiceover work for like $25. That's like, dang. Like for very professional voice acting, that's like, it's pretty good.
Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah.
Also, another, since we're doing shout outs right now, for artists that have helped us. The designer of our logo, which you can actually see in our thumbnail as well as on the podcast, friend of the podcast, Clay, he actually did that for free right when we started the podcast, because he just wanted to. He just likes doing it. He just wanted to design it. And
if you want to hear Clay, he's actually on episode, I think, like 3. It was 3. Our Marvel and Green Lanterns pitch. He knew a lot about Green Lanterns, so he helped with that.
From like 2 years ago. I know he's working on a clothing line right now. That's not. He actually, hang on. He's rebranding a bit.
Okay, I gotcha.
Let me look. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
All right, just making sure that. All right, just a second. Gotta look through messages. Let's see here.
Trying to go to.
Goodness, how long is this conversation? Sorry, he and I talk a lot, so here we go.
Yes.
The name he's working on for it. Just a second. Oh, hang on. I don't know if it's official yet, though, so I don't know if I should. You know what?
Okay, I gotcha.
Okay, I will save it for next time. Clay, if you're listening, I'm sorry. But yeah, I don't know if it's official yet based on what he sent me. So I'm gonna ask him once we're finished.
Even
doing this, and then I'll give him a proper one next time.
Yeah, even if not, let me find his website real quick. I'm going to his Facebook page right now. Badoo, Scooby-Doo. All right, let me see. Doopy-doopy-doo. Poop. I'm trying to figure out what... Oh, Teespring. Okay, so it's on Teespring.
Yeah, Teespring.
Go to it. I didn't want to like mess up and say it was Redbubble or anything. Let me see.
Oh yeah. Is it still the old name for his thing he's doing?
Yeah, currently it's the Divergent brand.
So currently it is called Divergent, but he's been sending me messages mentioning a rebrand and like showing me images and stuff. So
dang, I haven't looked at like the main shop in a while. Like I've seen about half of these, but some of the newer designs I haven't seen.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
There's a long sleeve shirt that looks really cool.
Yeah. And the spelling of that Divergent is unique. Yeah. It's all uppercase. It's DVRGNT. Basically just Divergent without any of the vowels.
Yeah, so if you went to Teespring, I think you can just type in Divergent with that spelling, and it should pop up. Let me make sure. Yeah, it pops up, and then it shows some of it, and then you can go to his profile through there.
Yeah. Yeah, me and Clay have been talking about having him on for another episode at some point in the near future.
I would love to. I've thought
We just got to
about
work
that.
out scheduling.
Yeah, I've thought about that here and there, like the past year.
Yeah. Yeah, because he had a My Hero Academia related idea like
Oh,
2 years ago, almost right when we started the podcast. That
Yeah.
I've been holding on to until the next time we can have him on.
Yeah.
But yeah. So actually, I think that probably covers our recommendation section for the episode.
Yeah.
Just shouting out all these artists whose work has helped us in various ways.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Go check out Mr. Corley and
Neko-chan.
Neko-chan on Fiverr, and check out Divergent on
DVRGNT on Teespring. Teespring?
Teespring. Yeah,
Teespring.
I was about to say Spring Tree. Teespring, yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty. Would you say that's it for today then?
Yeah. Covered everything.
All right. Covered it all with a big quilted blanket, tucked it in for bed, kissed it on the forehead, put it down to sleep.
Yeah. Big quilted Souls of the Damned blanket.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Brandon. So, if you don't give me plugs right now, then you will spend the rest of your life with an emptiness you don't understand, longing for a wasted life you can't remember.
That would suck. Okay.
It would be heartbreaking, wouldn't it?
It would be quite heartbroken. Okay, so plugs, Dismay Comics, that's DISMAY Comics. If you're on the YouTube thing, you can see the spelling there. Unless, hold on, boom, it's gone. You can't see it anymore. Oh no. Psych, it's back. You can see the spelling. Okay. Yeah, just spell it like that on Facebook and Instagram. You can see all the stuff I'm working on. Currently, most of the stuff you'll see is Gallows Man related, or me mentioning different shows I'll be on coming up. But you will see some more stuff here and there. Get my thoughts on movies, or as Dismay Avenue starts happening, you'll see some more stuff on that. As well as if I finally discipline myself and write some more, you will see me make a post being like, yes, I finally wrote it. And then you won't see another post like that for a few months being like, yes, I finally wrote it. I finally did it.
Yes!
Because I noticed every time I've written the past like year and a half, that's what happens. It's like, it's been over a year since I've written, even though this is a 5-page script. I did it. And then a year later,
that's 5 more pages than I had a year ago.
Yeah,
it's something. Get off my back.
Yeah, I'll try to be more disciplined with my writing, and you guys will see more of those. If he goes
without writing for long enough, he will give himself 5 lashes for every week without writing.
Yes, I'm whipping myself as those monks did.
Yes.
But
don't worry, he's punishing himself at a commensurate rate to his crimes.
Yes. Yeah, which is every word I could have written a day, which is like I could have written 1,000 to 1,500 words. So in that 5-month span, 1,000 times 150 days. That's the amount of lashes I have to do.
That's 150,000.
Yes.
It would take you that long to administer that many lashes.
Yes. That's what I've been doing that entire time. Every minute I'm not writing, I'm lashing myself.
So that's what that weird whipping noise in the background of your microphone has been.
Yes.
I don't know if anyone who isn't a part of the live stream can hear that. I don't know if the viewers chat can hear that. Is George still there? Can he hear it?
George is not there.
Ah.
George is he's given a stern talking to those League of Assassins members because they got the address wrong of your house.
Ha! They killed an innocent man.
Yes.
I was wondering when they were going to show up.
Florida. I thought you said...
No, don't give them the information. Don't give them that information.
No, that's super broad.
No, I'm saying don't give the assassins that information.
Oh, yeah, true. What I meant to say,
I don't care.
Was...
I've mentioned on the podcast where we live before. I don't care if listeners know.
Yeah. What I meant to say, assassins, if you're listening, I meant to say, Balorda. You have to go very far into some sort of European mountain territory to find that nation.
Look, if they do find me, I'll make them a trade because I have a way more valuable target waiting here for them, and he's sleeping on my couch, and his name is Alan Moore. Listen to our podcast. You want context for that one?
Yeah.
Which I don't even know if episodes where that sort of stuff has been mentioned are out yet. I can't remember.
Yeah, if we ever somehow had an IMDb page for a podcast that has no visuals, Alan Moore, of all of the appearances, would probably have like at least 20 appearances.
Yeah. Speaking of the podcast, that's my plug for today. Store Brand Comics. You're watching / listening to the live stream right now. So we do have a podcast that is on probably most podcast apps you can think of: Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, that sort of stuff. If you're interested in hearing us talk like this, but in a pre-recorded and edited format, though no less short, then go ahead and go and hit whatever follow or subscribe button is on whichever app you prefer for our podcast. We don't have a consistent day right now that we upload on because scheduling tends to be kind of erratic, and it's hard to find time to edit some weeks. But we do try to focus it on weekends between Friday and Monday, so you at least have a time frame. But because there's no specific day, that's why I advise the subscribe or the follow. Normally I don't try to push people into doing that because whatever. But if you want to be able to keep track of us, there's no specific reliable day that we upload on. So but between Friday and Monday is when it can be expected. But yeah, other than that, I've got nothing. I did kind of give you a threat based on a recommendation that I had planned, but I'll save that for a normal podcast episode instead, so listeners won't hear it until a month from now or longer. Yeah. Find out which Studio Ghibli movie I watched based on the threat I gave Brandon.
Yes.
Even just mentioning that it's a Studio Ghibli movie, they probably already know.
Yeah, if they've seen them, they've got it.
Just based on what I told you, because I just told you the ending of the movie.
Yeah.
So they probably already know. It was really good. It made me cry really hard. Anyway, I'm rambling, and I think it's time for us to go. So this has been Store Brand Comics. I have been Teo.
And I've been Brandon.
And now we are not, and we will talk to you next time.
Take care.